You don't have any way to prove it, darling.
Andre Gurgel oversaw all the steps of my designs.
You mean you spent the very last of the money I had in this country? Now how am I supposed to get myself out of the mess you put me in, you imbecile?
Can't imagine what else you would possibly have to say to me about Leonardo.
No, I wanted to talk to you about Armando.
Well, I'm sure they truly care for each other. It's easy for anyone to see that. And besides, they've been together for a very long time now.
Want to have lunch?
I do, but I need to wake up first. It's too early to think about lunch. I didn't even have breakfast yet.
Listen to me, Horatio Cortez. And you learn that no man will ever dump me.
NTV kusawemo kemeza mu lujja gwe ng'osima olujja ku bantu banyonyola maaso eyo nga tumaliriza amawulire gaffe okula nkwaniriza n'okubaza kyonna gy'osobodde okutuusako engalo olunaku olwaleero. Nze Patrick Mukasa kansooke nkuwe emitwe mikulu ate tutandike okutambula.
Lord Mayor ave mu bakansala oba ave ba division mayor.
Serving emyaka egisoba mu 10 nga ndi kansala. Buli kanyumero ka City Council mba nkamanyi.
Enkyukakyuka mu kulonda Lord Mayor abagala okuvuganya beesowoddeyo Lord Mayor Lukwago abawadde bibbo bya nseko. Okweyimirira abazize emisango abaka ba NRM bakiriza ekiteeso kya President Museveni ku ky'okujja okweyimirirwa kw'abantu abazza ogw'okutta okukwata abakazi kw'ossa n'abaana.
Kuba sisobola okwesimba ne mukama wange.
Okulonda kwa 2016 abateeso bagugumudde Mike Mukula olw'okuva mu lwokaano lw'okuvuganya ku bwa Pulezidenti. Mukula tabalese naye abaanukudde. Meja General Birala ebyobufuzi bitandise okumuzitowerera yeemulugunyiza olw'abantu okumusabiriza buli wadda kuba bakimanyi nti agenda kwesimbawo. NTV kusawemo nyongera okukwaniriza bo abegwanyiza ekifo kyo wa Lord Mayor wa Kampala batandise okwesowolayo oluvannyuma lwa minisita avunaanyizibwa ku nsonga za Kampala okuvaayo n'ategeeza nga bw'ateekateeka okuleeta ennongoosereza mu tteeka erirungamya engeri Lord Mayor gy'alondebwamu. Mu nnongoosereza empya Lord Mayor wakulondebwa okuva mu bakansala okwawukanako nga bwe gubadde nga abantu bonna mu Kampala beetaba mu kumulonda.
Minisita wa Kampala Frank Tumwebaze yavuddeyo akawungezi k'eggulo n'ategeeza nga bw'ateekateeka okuleeta ennongoosereza mu tteeka lya Kampala nga ligendereddwamu okukyusa engeri Lord Mayor gy'alondebwamu. Okusinziira ku Tumwebaze, kati Lord Mayor wakulondebwa ng'ava mu bakansala era nga bakansala bokka be balina okwekubako akalulu.
Kulwokuba twetaaga Lord Mayor n'avaamu awagira nnyo ebyenkulaakulana. Bw'oleeta abatembeyi balonde Lord Mayor enkya tagenda kubagoba ku kubo.
Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago avuddeyo n'azza omuliro ku nsonga eno.
Bw'oba oyagala okuyikiisawo mateeka genda okuutize atika esooka mu ssemateeka egamba nti omukulembeze anaalondebwanga bantu so si ggwe kumusalawo n'otuula wali n'ofuna bakansala mbu be baba balonda Lord Mayor. Ekyo tekijja kusoboka, njagala okikutegeeza.
Tulina kukola etteeka tulirambike bulungi obuwayiro bw'etteeka tulifuge tutya. Lina kufugwa mu ngeri etakosa planning y'ekibuga.
In fact kana akawaayiro ke baleeta bakayite Lukwago Amendment Act. Tituleese etteeka lye bayita Lukwago Amendment Act nga akawaayiro kubanga ekigendererwa kyakyo kiri kimu nti Lukwago taddamu okubeera mu byobukulembeze.
Bo bannamateeka abalondoola ebyobufuzi bategeezezza nga singa ennongosereza egenda mu maaso bw'ejja nate okwongera obukuubagano mu bufuzi bw'ekibuga Kampala.
Because if you look across all the elections for electoral colleges, it is just one party dominating it. You know, you don't have any chance of anybody else emerging except for the Western Youth MP. So it will only be able to entrench a particular viewpoint and not reflect the wider will of the people. And in my view, it's a very unhelpful way of electing leaders.
Bo abamu ku bakansala batandise okwesolayo okuvuganya ku kifo kya Lord Mayor singa etteeka ligenda mu maaso ne lirongoosebwa. Mu bavuddeyo mwe muli kansala wa Makerere University Bernard Luyiga ng'onagamba nti kyekiseera naye okutuulako mu ntebe y'obwa Lord Mayor w'ekibuga Kampala.
Okusavinga emyaka egisoba mu 10 nga ndi kansala buli kanyomero ka City Council mba nkamanyi, so ekyokukola mu KCCA sisaana kumbulya kikyakukola mba nsobola okukola kye mba ngenda okukola nze nsuubira kiba kigenda kuyamba bannakampala.
Luyiga agamba nti alina manifesto ezitowa gy'ategekedde bannakampala era nga y'ensonga lwaki asaana okuweebwa omukisa.
Ebitunga okolebwa enguudo kasasira yagezaawo okuyoolebwa amatala okwakisibwa mu kibuga Kampala twagala okussaawo n'ennyumba z'abakadde. Nze vision yange munyagala kulaba nti no buli division tufunayo ennyumba z'abakadde.
Etteeka eririwo liwa bannakampala omukisa okwerondera Lord Mayor era ng'ono yabalina okukulira oludda olw'ebyobufuzi mu KCCA. Bukyerias Lukwago alondebwa ku bwa Lord Mayor wabadde okusika omugwa wakati we n'akulira okuddukanya emirimu mu KCCA Jennifer Musisi nga ne bakansala baatuuka n'okwemulugunya ku ngeri ebintu gye byali bitambuzibwamu. Kinajjukirwa nti akakiiko akaateekebwawo akaali kakulirwa omulamuzi Catherine Bamugemeerere mu mwezi gw'Okumi kaafunye bye kaazuula nga akakiiko kaazuula nga Lukwago bwe yali alemereddwa okukola emirimu gye.
Reporter yino tujirabye.
Julius Senkandwa, NTV.
Yeyo ensonga yetebe ya Lord Mayor. Bo abaka ba NRM bakanyiza okola ennongosereza mu ssemateeka okujjawo okweyimirirwa okumala emyezi 6 ku misango eminene ng'ogwo okutta omuntu, okusobya ku bakyala n'abaana wamu n'okwenyigira mu kulya ebisiyaga. Kino kyatuukiddwako mu lusirika abaka ba NRM lwe babaddemu mu ttendekero ly'ebyobufuzi liri Kyankwanzi.
President Yoweri Museveni amaze n'amatiza abaka ba NRM kujjawo okweyimirirwa ku bantu ababazizza emisango ng'okutta omuntu wamu n'okusobya ku bakazi n'abaana. Museveni era ayagala n'abantu abavunaaniddwa ogw'ebisiyaga babe nga tebeeyimirirwa okumala emyezi 6.
We are going to make sure that we restrain this bail constitutionally so that people who commit murder are not given bail except after 6 months. Rape, defilement, we are even thinking of adding sodomy.
Museveni agamba talaba lwaki abalamuzi bakkiriza ababazizza emisango egya naggomola okweyimirirwa mb'okireetera abantu okujjamu ekitongole ekiramuza obwesige. Museveni okwogera bw'ati yabadde aggalawo olusirika abaka ba NRM lwe babaddemu okumala ennaku 9 ku ttendekero ly'ebyobufuzi ekyankwanzi. Museveni wano era we yasinzidde n'akkaatiriza eky'okussa omukono ku bbago ly'ebisiyaga.
I'm going to sign the bill.
Ndi musanyufu. Njagala okukulisa bannayuganda mwenna nti kaakati leero abaana baffe ndowooza banaafuna ku buweerero ku bagajambuza babadde babasanga mu masomero ne mu bitundu byonna eby'eggwanga gye badde babasanga. Mukama mulungi.
Si kintu kya butonde. Mpisa bazze baziiga buyizi. Empisa sizaffe za buwangwa ffe nga bannayuganda ng'abantu ba bulijjo.
Abali mu muze guno baavaayo ne bategeeza nga bwe bagenda okutwala gavumenti mu kkooti singa etteeka lissibwako omukono saako n'abagabi b'obuyambi okutiisatiisa nga bwe bagenda okusalako obuyambi bwe bawa Uganda. Pulezidenti Museveni aludde ng'ayogera lunye naye ku luno ayagala abasiyaze bateekebwe ku lukalala lw'abagenda okugaanibwa okweyimirirwa. Gye buvuddeko Pulezidenti Museveni era ayagala n'abeekalakkaasi bagaanibwe okweyimirirwa ekyaleetera bannabyabufuzi okukirwanyisa nga bagamba nti etteeka lyali ligendereddwamu okukyojjanya bannabyabufuzi naddala abo abali ku ludda oluvuganya gavumenti. Jingo Francis, NTV ku ssaawa emu.
ebyo byatuukiddwako kyankwanze babatuuze ba munisipaali ya Sorote balaze obwenyamivu eri omubaka waabwe Captain Mike Mukula olw'okutandika okulya ebigambo bye ku kyokwesimbawo okuvuganyako bwa pulezidenti mu kalulu ka 2016. Mukula nga yamyuka ssentebe wa NRM mu bitundu by'obuvanjuba yegatta ku baka ba NRM abalala ekyankwanze okwagira ekya pulezidenti Museveni okwesimbawo mu 2016 nga tewali amuvuganyiza mu kibiina kye, yadde nga Mukula yalangirako nga bwagenda okwesimbawo ku kifo kino kyekimu.
Nga yakalondebwa okubeera omubaka wa munisipaali ya Soroti mu 2011, Captain Mike Mukula yategeeza abawagizi be abaali bajaguza ku kisaawe e Soroti nga bw'atunulidde okwesimbawo ku bukulembeze bw'eggwanga mu 2016.
If Ronaldo Tunu can stand, why can't Mukula stand? If Betty Kalia can stand, why can't Mukula stand? Nobody should intimidate Mukula because I've spoken during daylight before the sun has set.
Wabula oluvannyuma lw'okusirika ku nsonga eno okumala akaseera, abawagizi be balaze obwennyamivu.
I'm not happy. Why? He's the only leader that we trust in this, and the whole hope we have, it is him. And sincerely, he's letting us down, and the other tribes are going up.
Now I'm already paralyzed because we put our hearts to support him, and then him disappoint us like that.
Abamu ku bakulembeze ba NRM mu district ya Soroti bamuyise mutiitiizi era bongera okulaga obutali bumativu ku nsonga eno.
I knew Mukula was pretending because I know how NRM people behave. I knew, and that was a confusion trying to confuse the people of Uganda.
Ye Captain Mike Mukula mukwanukula abatuuze ku nsonga eno ababuulidde nti tasobola kwesimbawo mu kaseera kano kubanga alina okugoberera ensalawo y'ekibiina kye.
Enkalala y'abamemba of parliament bonna basalawo okusaba President Museveni ayimirire kwegamba yesimbewo nga omukulembeze w'eggwanga 2016. Nze ng'omuntu sisobola okuyimirira wali ne nga nti ekyo nkipinga. Nina okugenda n'endowooza y'abantu abasinga mu political party yange kubanga sibola okwesimbawo wabweru wa NRM. Singa nali njagala nandibadde nga nvaayo ku National Resistance Movement n'engenda nga Bidandisali oba Kiza Besigye oba n'abalala.
Mukula wabula agumiza abatuuze obutagwamu ssuubi kubanga eno si enkomerero.
Enkola eri omu maaso nsaamu era etangaala era tujja kukwatagana tukole nabo tugende mu maaso. Tomanyi Katonda byategese mu maaso ndaba ebirungi byokka ne bitangaala.
Captain Mike Mukula si asoose okuvayo n'alaga obwagazi okwagala okwesimbawo mu 2016 oluvannyuma ne yeekyusa.
Buli buzannyo bwabwe just batudingisa mu budingisa ffe bannayuganda gaffe abantu ba wansi naye beeri waggulu ekyo bali bamanyi nge bakitambuzaamu bali ku mugati gwabwe kusunasunako basunasunako
naye waliwo ekintu kyolaba n'ogamba kino n'akituukako bwe nkitandika naye bw'otandika ekintu olaba nga waggulu eri gw'oli wansi atoyagala obukokwate waggulu kiba tekisoboka. Yagezaako ekintu ekitasoboka naye munda eri ng'akimanyi.
Mu 2009 omubaka wa Dokolo Okot Ogong yategeeza nga bw'ayagala okwesimbawo oluvannyuma ebigambo bye n'abirya. We twogerera bino ng'eyaliko omumyuka wa President Kakensa Gilbert Bukenya ne Major General Biralo be bamu ku bakyakakasizza nga bwe bagenda okwesimba mu President Museveni mu kuvuganya okw'obukulembeze bw'eggwanga mu kalulu ka 2016. Sohail Mugabi, NTV ku ssaawa
ddala NTV ku ssaawa emu tukugirayo biki abantu bye bayogera emyaka giri n'ompimamu na biki boogera ku ssaawa zino zennyini tulimu. Gye buvuddeko katono munnamagye yawummula Major General Benon Biraro yalangira nga bwagenda okwesimbawo avuganye ku ntebe y'obwa pulezidenti mu mwaka 2016 era n'alangirira nga bwagenda okukola ekibiina ekyobufuzi kyayagala okutuma Peace and National Unity Party. Kyokka mu kaseera kano agamba nti yeetamiddwa abantu okumusabiriza ssente buli gy'alaga olw'okuba bawulidde nti agenda kwesimbawo.
Bw'abadde ayogera eri abamawulire mu kitundu ky'Isingiro, munnamagye yaganyuka Major General Benon Biraro agambye nti yeetamiddwa abantu abatandise okumusabiriza ssente nga baagala okuzimba enguudo, amasinzizo, ssaako n'enzizi byagamba nti guno si mulimu gwe.
Dams, water points because this area is dry and many other requests. Yeah, self-help requests. farming type chicken, they want provide portrait, provide this and that. Of course, I cannot afford that as an individual.
Biralo nabadde yakalangirira jjo ly'abalamu luno nga bw'ayagala okwesimbawo okuvuganya Pulezidenti Museveni era nga yatandika n'okutalaaga ebitundu by'eggwanga ebimu kyokka mu kiseera kino alabika ng'ebyobufuzi bimutuulidde. Wabula agamba nti yadde nga biri bityo kino kimuwadde essomo okukola ennyo okusobola okuyamba abantu bano abali mu bwetaavu.
The principle is that the greatest resource of a nation are her people. So the people must do what it takes to improve their own living.
Biralo yanyuka amagye mwaka oguwedde era ng'azze akyogera lunye nga bw'ayagala okwesimbawo avuganye Pulezidenti Museveni nga kati ali mu nteekateeka z'okuwandiisa ekibiina kye ki Peace and National Unity Party.
NTV ku ssawemo budde bwokka bwe buyinza okutusalako naye nga tukyagendera ddala mu maaso wabula ketuwumulimu katono mu kudda tukumyona mwera malago talina kusubwa kuba agaleero mulimu bino. Ebyobulambuzi bya Uganda biri mu matiga abantu abeeranye ekkuumiro ly'ebisolo erya Queen Elizabeth batega ebisolo byamu ne babiwa obutwa ne babita. Okukomola abakazi bangi ku bakomolwa bafiiriddwa abaana mu lutalo olw'okuzaala abalala ebyokwegatta n'abasajja babivaako kubanga bibalumye.
Gabriela is trapped in a collapsing mine and she is rescued by Alejandro, and underneath the rubble they fell in love.
Beautiful and iron-willed.
I told you 1,000 times not to put your hands on me! Your mom working in a mine is nothing for you to be ashamed of. In fact, you should be very proud of it, honey.
But her destiny will be marked. Alejandro's ambitious mother becomes her worst enemy.
She was cast into prison, and all that she was left with was her memories of her son and the woman. Now she has to forge a way to revenge on the other side.
NTV kulikayo mukumlamwoko nolwekyo ketugendere ddala mu maaso. Ebyobulambuzi bya Uganda bituuse okosebwa ennyo singa abantu abeera okumpi n'ekkuumiro ly'ebisolo erya Queen Elizabeth bagenda mu maaso n'okubiyiganya. Abakozi mu kkuumiro lino bategeezezza nti ensolo ezisinga okuba ez'enkizo ate ze ziri mu matiga. Mu zino mulimu enjovu, zikimpanze n'empologoma.
Abantu abayigga ensolo mu bumenyi bw'amateeka bamaze ebbanga nga bayigganya enjovu basobole okuziggyako amasanga gaazo ag'ettunzi ennyo naddala mu mawanga agali ku lukalu lwa Asia. Wabula abavunaanyizibwa ku kukuuma ensolo z'omu nsiko bwe bongeddemu amaanyi abaziyigga nabo ne bakyusa enkuba nga kati bazitega butwa.
The evidence we had is that we were able to recover poison traps along the park boundary, and then we got around 5 carcasses. The cause was not known, and so we attribute the death of those 5 elephants to poisoning.
Gujabagidde olw'obutwa bwe batega enjovu kuba oluusi butta ensolo endala yadde nga abatezi baba tebalina kye baagala kuziggyako. N'empologoma ze batenda amaanyi nazo ebyazo si birungi mu Queen Elizabeth National Park kuba nazo abalunzi ate bazitega obutwa mbu nga bazeesasuza okutaagula ensolo zaabwe ne zizinywamu omusaayi.
We lost 3 lions last year in the area of Nyakatonji. They are of course poisoned by the cattle killers.
Zikimpanze nazo ebyazo si birungi olw'abantu abazitega obutwa mu nnimiro gye ziddukira zifunaako okuzza eri omumwa. Kitegeezeddwa nti akabaate kavudde ku kyeya ekibuzizza ebibala zikimpanze ze bitera okulya.
They move out of the gorge to the communities and raid crops, sugarcane, bananas. Sometimes that is because the food in the gorge is not enough. And so we fear that is a threat to them. They can easily be harmed by communities for raiding their crops.
Kigambibwa nti chimpanze ewamu gye ziyitira zibba omwenge oguyitibwa omuramba, ate bwe zigangayira zinnaaze endala ne zizitaagula, naddala empologoma n'engo. Abalabirira ebisolo by'omu nsiko bayiyiza okusima oluwonko lwa kilomita 177 kitangira ebisolo by'omu nsiko okutoloka so nga kyakuziyiza n'abantu okubirumba. Oluwonko luno bagaseeko okulwetoolooza emizinga gy'enjuki. Wabula enteekateeka eno nayo ekyalinzibwa okutuukiriza kuba yeetaaga obuwumbi bwa siringi 300 bulamba. Ebyobulambuzi bimaze ebbanga nga byogerwako ng'erimu ku makubo agasinga okuleeta ssente mu byenfuna by'eggwanga.
Ate nga tuvuddeyo baba nti mu bitundu bya Chole bateekateeka kutandika kulunda byennyanja mu kaweefube okwejja mu bwavu. Kino bakukitukako nga bayita mu kitongole kya Food and Agriculture Organization FAO ekyewaddeyo okuyamba abantu mu kitundu kino abakosebwa ennyo olutalo lwa Ssaabajambula Yosefu Kony.
Okusinziira ku Dr. Waiswa Wilson Mwanje ng'ono yeebuzibwako ku nsonga z'ebyobulunzi, Acholi ekyalina ebitundu bingi ebiyinza okukolebwako ebyokwekulaakulanya nga okulunda ebyennyanja kye kimu ku byo.
We can tap into this and produce more fish for the local market.
Abakulembeze mu disitulikiti y'eggulu bagamba nti ebitundu ebyamambuka birina embeera y'obudde esobozesa obulungi okulunda ebyennyanja nga kino kyakuyamba n'abantu okufuna emirimu.
Part of the year Gulu is cold, but this period when it's hot and yet the water is flowing
will also enhance our ability as a district to have a very healthy population.
Abamu ku batandikedde okulunda ebyennyanja bagamba nti tebabisanzeemu buzibu bw'amaanyi olw'ensonga nti okutandika omulimu guno tekyetaagisa ssente nnyingi.
But I tell you, it is really fun.
Ekyennyanja ekyegasa mu bitundu bya Choli kiri wakati w'omutwalo n'ebiri kyokka ng'abantu bakyalagajjalidde obulunzi bwabyo.
And the maximum cost goes for 20,000 Uganda shilling. And I'm talking about this is just fresh fish.
Bw'obulumi abawala abato n'abakazi abakomolebwa bwe bayitamu tebugambika era ng'oluusi abamu batuuka n'okufa kyokka nga bino byonna babiyitamu mu kimugunyu nga bagezaako okutuukiriza ebyobuwangwa byabwe. Olwaleero tukuleetedde emboozi y'abakazi Karamoja abayita mu kukomolebwa ssaako n'ebyo ebibatuuseeko. Bano obuzibu okusinga babusanga mu kuzaala mpozzi n'olumu bwe baba nga bali mu kwegatta mu mukwano.
Penina Chepsok alina emyaka 17 era nga yakechulwa wa myaka 12. Ono obuzibu bwali bumwolekedde teyabumanyirawo okutuuka bwe yatuuka okuzaala omwana wa sooka. Olw'okuba bwe yasalibwa ekkuba omuyita omwana lyafunda, bw'atyo omwana we yafa ng'azaalibwa ate naye n'ayulika ekyamuviirako obubi n'omusulo okuba nga bimuyita mu buyisi.
After operating her, she saw the urine started passing out.
Batwala ebbanga ppanvu nga bagenda kuzaala okusuusaako ssaawa 24. Kati omwana abeera nti atudde mu kifo kimu n'aleetera ebitundu bya wansi okukosebwa. Kati ekivaamu ne bifuna ebituli.
Ono namusanze Mbaale mu ddwaliro ne banne abalala 6 abaabadde baakalongoosebwa okusobola okutereera oluvannyuma lw'abaana okubayiza obubi ennyo.
Kati abasinga osanga nga bafunye obuzibu bino ebigere bifa. Kuba kati nga bwe ngambye ebitundu bya wansi bikosebwa, emisuwa gino egiweereza omusaayi ebitundu bya wansi nagyo gifa. Nosanga mukyala nga alipinga tasobola kutambula bulungi.
Ng'oggyeko ekyokuba nti abantu bano babeera basale abasinga ku bo bafuna embuto nga bali wansi w'emyaka 15 ekibeetera obuzibu obw'amaanyi mu kuzaala. Eka gye baavudde mu ggombolola y'Eroro mu disitulikiti y'e Amdat ng'eno okukechula abawala kukyali kw'amaanyi, abakyala bawerako abalina ebizibu ebyekuusa n'okusalibwa. Rachel Namire naye yafuna fistula sako okufiirwa omwana we ng'azaala olw'obufunda. Wadde yalongoosebwa era kati ali bulungi taddangamu kufuna lubuto wadde nga bajje babasatu bonna balina abaana.
Ebyembi yazaalira waka so nga ate yali tasobola kusindika olw'obufunda.
Abalala ebyokwegatta babituukiriza lwa buwaze. Cheptilak Kuchela nga wa myaka 25 agamba ne bwe yafiirwa bba ku myaka emito ng'oba oli awo yandizzeemu okufumbirwa ebyokwegatta byamutamya obufumbo anti ng'alumwa nnyo so nga n'okuzaala lwali lutalo. ebizibu ebirala ebyekuusa ku kukecula abakazi n'abawala mwe muli enkovu okumera mu mbugo, enseke okukosebwa, okulumwa mu kwegatta, olumu nga kiviirako n'abakazi obutazaala. Eno y'emu ku nsonga lwaki ebitongole eby'enjawulo nga UNICEF bivuddeyo okulongoosa abakyala bafunye ebizibu eby'ekika ekyo ssaako okuvumirira ebikolwa bino.
UNICEF essira egenda kulissa kutuukira ddala ku muntu owa wansi ddala mu bifo bino byonna nga tukozesa abakadde baffe bajjajja okwogera n'abavubuka abato ate n'okulaba nti ba leaders nabo bagendera ddala wansi mu bifo bino byonna okwongera okwogera n'abantu okulaba nti ebirowoozo byabwe oba endowooza yaabwe ku muze guno ogw'okukomola abawala nti gukola ki gukoma.
Okusinziira ku tteeka eryayisibwa mu 2010 ekibonerezo ekitono ennyo ekiweebwa omuntu akwatibwa ng'akecudde omuwala kyakusibwa emyaka 10 so ng'omuwala bw'aba afudde kubeera kusibwa mayisa. Irene Namyalo, NTV.
NTV ku ssawemo tukyagenda ddala mu maaso wabula bakagiras ey'amazzi kuli okumpi ogironywamu mu kudda tugenda kudda n'ebivudde mu nsiike y'ebyemizannyo.
Mikwano gyaffe bana NTV ate naddala mu bannaamu muli gw'emizannyo muli gw'ebyemizannyo gukomyewo 2014 ate mutya kati ate gukyusiza n'obudde gwa 7 gwali gwa 9 ne gugoberera ntusanyuka kati gubongereddeko wano malya g'ebyemisana awo osooke gubatayize gubaleetere ku kintu kyonna kalonda ennawo by'emizannyo ogwo muli gw'ebyemizannyo mupya 2014 Isima waali alagira Argentina yenjo mukubira eddiba lye omukwano gujja kukomawo ku muli gw'emizannyo naye kasita kinatuuka eri bano ba Messi okulumba abalenzi baffe ba Thiago Silva awo tewali mukwano omuli gw'ebyemizannyo 2014 President.
New Mortin Doom Power Guard. Nothing kills faster and keeps killing for longer. New Mortin Doom Power Guard. Nothing kills faster and keeps killing for longer.
NTV kusawe morobudde abutusobodde okoma olunaku olwaleero nze Patrick Mukasa obula ku ntandikwa nakutegeezezaako nti kemeza mu lujja gwe ng'osima awo kabeera katiko waliwo abantu abamu ne balinda ekintu olina sukka akola ekintu kye nekimala okuvaayo obulungi ate n'atandikirawo n'alaga nti ayamba nnyo baba abantu nga batijja n'olwekyo si kibi okuyamba naye omuntu bw'oba ngolaba alina watuuse totijja nnyo tolaga nnyo buwagazi tolaga nnyo buwanguzi kubanga gy'abeera avudde tobeera kumpi lwaki sikusibula enkya olunaku lwa Mande olunaku lwa kukola sula bulungi twagaliza okwebaka amangu osobola okutuuka ku mulimu amangu weeraba.
NTV, turning on your world.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent
put my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
Gabriela is trapped in a collapsing mine, and she is rescued by Alejandro, and underneath the rubble, they fell in love.
Beautiful and iron-willed.
I told you 1,000 times not to put your hands on me! Your mom working in a mine is nothing for you to be ashamed of. In fact, you should be very proud of it, honey.
But her destiny will be marked. Alejandro's ambitious mother becomes her worst enemy.
She was cast into prison, and all that she was left with was her memories of her son. And the woman. Now, she has to forge a way to revenge on the other side.
Today's highlight with
New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
This isn't a game, Chacon. You have to look for her everywhere. Yes, even at Gabriela Suarez's house.
What's her house? Why is that? What happened?
Gabriela Suarez has escaped.
The boy isn't here. My mom always wants what's best for us. That's why she uses new geisha with extracts from nature. New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shopping. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
Watching Morning at NTV.
A very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back from the weekend that saw many of us have the best Valentine's Day ever, or some of us were busy trying to run around town to scheme. Others were actually caught dogging on their partners, and up to now others are still looking for a Valentine's. Never the same. It's the show that starts your day. This is Morning at NTV, coming to you live from the Kampala Serena rooftop. And if you're just waking up or getting ready to go to work or already at work, it's going to be a beautiful week. My name is Brian, and Mabel is standing by at the NTV studios at the International Conference Center. Joel Senyonyi is standing by, Simon Kasiate is standing by, and Dakaba Chigongo also standing by. Many of us don't like this day, but I tell you, the week ahead is going to be awesome. We have a lot lined up for you today on the show. It's going to be 2 hours of a roller coaster ride, and I'm assuring you, it's going to be worth it. Welcome to the show, and I'm telling you, good morning. Let's start the day with the question of the day. Today, some of you will become Igwes. The question is very simple. What is the capital of Nigeria? Our brothers in this, they call Nigeria now. Please answer the question. And the first 5 respondents will each walk out with this one. They call it a mark from NTV. You heard though. And feel free to reach us on our avenues, Morning at NTV, that is Twitter, and Morning at NTV on Facebook. And of course, you can send the text to 6565. First 5 respondents will each walk away with a mag. Switching over to you, Mabel, who is at the NTV studios at the International Conference Center to tell us the stories that are making headlines. Good morning, Mabel.
Good morning, brother. Good morning, brother Brian. Thank you very much. This is the 17th day of February, exactly 11 days to the end of the month. And you're watching Morning at NTV. Thank you for joining us on air and online. I am Mabel Kebirunji, and these are some of the stories that are making headlines. Leaders in the NRM agree to amend the constitution provision that grants suspects of capital offences the right to bail. A lawyer has warned that the proposed electoral college system to elect Lord Mayor will not resolve the political crisis at the City Hall. And community-based organization introduces bulbs made from plastic water bottles.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Leaders of the NRM party agreed to amend the constitutional provision that grants suspects of capital offences the right to bail for at least 6 months. The resolution proposed by President Museveni was reached at the closure of the NRM caucus retreat in Chankwanzi. Francis Jingo has more.
The NRM leaders meeting in Chankwanzi resolved to scrap bail for suspects of capital offences like rape, defilement and murder, in line with President Museveni's long-time call. The move will require amendments to the 1995 Constitution. The President further called for the denial of bail to suspects of sodomy.
We are going to make sure that we restrain this bail constitutionally so that people who commit murder are not given bail except after 6 months, rape, defilement. We are even thinking of adding sodomy.
The President urges that granting bail to such capital offenders promotes mob justice and breeds mistrust towards the judiciary. The President was speaking at the closure of the 9-day NRM caucus retreat at the National Leadership Institute in Chankwanzi. President Museveni assured the NRM lawmakers of his commitment to sign the anti-homosexuality bill amidst ululations from the members.
I'm going to sign the bill.
And therefore, it's only right that we defend this because it's not natural, it's not genetic, it's a behavior learned, and we should help people to unlearn it.
You know, we are going to have a community that is free of homosexuality, a community that will lead Uganda, a community that will be productive so that we don't become extinct.
It's very, very important that he took his time to listen to all of us and the medical team which came here to give us information.
Advocates of homosexuality and some human rights defenders have previously vowed to sue government once the bill is passed into law. Jingo Francis, NTV.
A lawyer has warned that the proposed electoral college system to elect the Lord Mayor as opposed to universal adult suffrage will not resolve the political crisis that has often paralyzed City Hall. The Minister for the Presidency, Frank Tumwebaze, yesterday told journalists that he plans to table an amendment bill to change the rules of electing the Lord Mayor. Government believes that this is the only way to cure City Hall of its persistent squabbles which affect service delivery.
Last evening, Kampala Minister Frank Tumwebaze revealed that he plans to table a KCCA amendment bill. If the bill sails through Parliament, the election will be changed from universal adult suffrage to electoral colleges, where the Lord Mayor will be elected amongst the councillors. This comes on the heels of the crisis between the embattled Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago and the technocratic Executive Director Jennifer Musisi, which has paralyzed the City Hall.
Yes, leave the mayor to be there, but he should be picked from the councillors or or maybe the division mayors. There is room for debate there.
They are wasting taxpayers' money thinking of how to deal with Lukwago. Today you hear they are talking of a by-election. Tomorrow they are saying we are going to call cancer and get a replacement. We are going to do this and that. All this, you are tinkering with the law. All this in the name of fighting one man, Lukwago. You can imagine.
In November last year, a tribunal led by Justice Catherine Bamugemerere found Lukwago guilty of misconduct, incompetence and abuse of office. In an attempt to appeal against the ruling, Lukwago applied for a court injunction to remain in office until his petition challenging the verdict of the tribunal has been disposed of. Though the High Court Judge Yasini Nyanzi said that the injunction is valid, government insists that by the time it was served, Lukwago had already been found guilty by the tribunal. Lukwago has since then been locked out of office. However, a lawyer, Nicholas Opio, says that the plans to lock out Lukwago and his ilk from holding political office will not resolve the leadership crisis at City Hall.
Electoral systems still working for the youth, the army, so they are very unclear, they are subject to manipulation. And I think that for a contentious matter, as the leadership of a city, electoral colleges will not deliver, in my view, what would be the true reflection of the voice or the will of the people of Kampala. So I think that any resort to electoral colleges will not solve the problem, the current impasse, rather just aim to entrench a particular viewpoint. Because if you look across the all the elections for electoral colleges, it's just one party dominating it. You know, you don't have any chance of anybody else emerging except for the Western Youth MP. So to only be able to entrench a particular viewpoint and not reflect the wider will of the people. And in my view, it's a very unhelpful way of electing leaders.
Meanwhile, some councillors have begun lobbying for the coveted position of Lord Mayor. Among the hopefuls is Makerere University Councillor Bernard Luiga.
I don't think I will have anything that will deter me from aspiring for that political position, because all politicians, their interest is to see that they impact on the well-being of the people that they lead. So also my desire is to put my contribution to society, and I can do it best when I become the Lord Mayor of Kampala.
Lukwago, who rode on the waves of the regime discontent among the poor masses in the city to be elected Lord Mayor, has had a turbulent relationship with the abrasive Executive Director Musisi, who was handpicked by the president to change the face of the city.
Interesting pictures there. Well, a community-based organization called Daylight Project has introduced bulbs made from plastic water bottles to people living in informal settlements that lack electricity. The bulbs are a low-cost and environmentally friendly innovation that are said to last 7 years. Florence Nalyumba has this special report.
We spent barely half a day with Jennifer King and her team from the Daylight Project on a mission to light up Kampala's slums with plastic bottles.
We're taking plastic bottles that, you know, a lot of times end up in the rubbish or being burnt or clogging drains out of the environment and turning them into a light.
A handful of tools are needed, and this bag holds the key to making cheap and affordable light. It's not long before they're all laid out. The basics include plastic bottles, squarely cut iron sheets, screwdrivers, pliers, hammer, markers to show where the light will be, sandpaper and bleach, jig. Each of these plays a role in making the bottle light up. It is an electrifying moment, a life-changing experience.
Marking where this plastic light is going to be.
The process begins.
So it's using this marker to mark where it's going to cut a hole and insert this plastic bottle.
After the circles have been marked, the smaller circle is cut out.
Then after that, you join this small circle to the outer part, to the big circle that you've traced.
The inner markings are joined to the bigger circle. Then they're pulled up. These will be holding the bottle or light firmly.
The purpose of these things, of cutting these things, is to hold that plastic bottle in one position.
At which percentage are we to getting all right?
Yeah, I can say we are at around 20.
The cropped iron sheet is then fed. We are 25% now. The gaps are then sealed around the bottle with silicone. No hole should be exposed. The same is applied when the bottle is turned upside down.
And you make sure that you don't over-apply this silicone. You can use one bottle of silicone and construct around the 4 lights. This one is now ready.
After the silicone application, the bottle is hung to dry for about 1 hour.
Right.
Now when it's dry, we are at what percentage?
50.
Okay,
Yeah.
The final elements to making light draw nearer: water and jig.
You almost fill it,
leaving enough space for 2 to 3 lids of the jig bottle top for purification.
Once you put here water, which is not very clear, which is not pure, it means that you're not going to get good light in your room. This one is now ready to be installed.
We have our light.
Yeah, this is right.
This is light.
Yeah.
I am totally mesmerized. This is light.
Yeah.
This is light.
And I'm not the only one. Some inquisitive passers-by make a stop.
Sunshine actually will hit on this bottle, and then the sun rays will be reflected down in your room.
So it means it works by sun rays?
Exactly. Okay. That is why it is called solar.
Okay.
Yeah. This is solar, only that it uses simple local tools, technology, for you to have it in your room. Yeah.
Are you somehow being
converted? So you cannot connect any wire on them?
No, you don't need to use any wire. Yeah.
It just works for lightning only?
Exactly.
During daytime?
Exactly. You don't actually you don't as in use it for like watching TV, like charging.
Jennifer King, the director Delight, says this simple solar technology originated in Brazil.
We are working with our partners Shelter and Settlement Alternatives, the Ugandan Human Settlement Network. So we piloted the project, very small scale, in Kisenyi 3 in Kiti Zone. So now we're active in about 20 zones across Kampala and have installed outside of Kampala area.
She says most people in these settings live in darkness. Armed with the finished products, the work begins through the narrow, filthy alleys of the slummy areas of Namwongo to see the installation. It takes just a little cut into the iron sheet. The nails make their mark. The final silicone seal is made with a bottle top, and it's goodbye day darkness electricity.
And within kind of an hour from the start of construction to the installation, people have a 60-watt light bulb that can last up to 7 years.
Immaculate Alasso is one of these people.
During day, it really shines like it's electricity. And when it goes beyond, like when it goes beyond like 7, it also goes down. Like goes down like as electricity is overused.
She calls it a good, inexpensive innovation that has withstood the vagaries of weather like powerful rains. And her business, she does from within.
Such a thing, even if it were come at a price, would you acquire it?
Of course, I would go for it because I have seen that it's useful.
Aida Nabutono, who stays about 300 meters away, shares our excitement. She saw the light upon a chance meeting with Jenny where she was teaching the locals about daylight.
I no longer spend a lot on paraffin and candles. From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'm awash with light.
When you're having to, light your house for 12 hours when it's super bright outside, yeah, you're saving on electricity, reducing the demand on the grid. So it benefits all Ugandans, really.
Now, even if the sunlight is totally out, the beauty about this bottle is that it can still tap into any source of energy nearby. So if a neighbor is in the dark and another one has some light, like that one over there, this can tap into that light and they'll still get some lights.
It's one of those projects that you really have to see it to believe it. We always install kind of in clusters, you know, one neighbor will install and then all the other neighbors over time will want it, because it's not one of those things that you can just, you don't look at a plastic light.
So do you think you can meet the demand, because people are really going to demand for them?
Yeah, we're trying. We've started a new project where we're employing community members to be our representatives on the ground.
They're set to duplicate the model in other areas around Kampala.
In every single one of those workshops, people tell us, take us to the village. That's where people need it, take it to the village. And we say that we're only 4 or 5, but if we teach everyone and they take it back to their village, then we can really, you know, reach all of Uganda, because it's a big place.
You're not keeping it to yourselves?
No, the whole idea is to share.
If more people, especially those with low incomes, turn to this innovation, it would go a long way in reducing pressure on natural resources, promote recycling, and improve the quality of life. Florence Salimba, NTV.
Indeed, it's one of those things you need to see before you actually believe. Solar from a bottle. But anyway, I now hand you over to Joel, Simon, and Brian for the press review.
A very good morning. It's a wonderful start to a new week on the 17th day of February 2014. This morning at NTV. And yes, we look at what's making headlines in today's newspapers. And of course, we have it as usual, the Daily Monitor and the Tri-Weekly Observer. And to give that to you all is the usual set of suspects, Brian Molondo and Joel Senyu. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing?
Tremendously well, especially now with all these wonderful headlines making it to the newspapers. It's all about politics, as you know. But there is a new twist to the political game as you get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor this morning. President Museveni declaring that he's now set for a battle on gays, homosexuals. You know that recently he agreed to assent to the anti-homosexuality bill after scientists, and mark this word, Ugandan scientists, proved to him beyond any form of reasonable doubt.
What does that mean? You don't seem to have any faith in our scientists.
It's not. I don't have any faith in any scientists.
You have to qualify it.
Let's assume Ugandan doctors. They are studied by, they are...
But Uganda produces some of the best doctors.
And they are taught on the British curriculum.
Trouble is, we do not pay them well enough, and so they keep running away.
Well, I have also seen European doctors in Uganda and Russian doctors in Uganda. Is it because
they come here for charity, of course, to help poor Ugandans?
Does that mean that because they're Ugandan doctors, well, they didn't
no, I am qualifying it just like if it was a set of American scientists who gave Museveni this information, or Russian doctors for that matter. So we got Ugandan scientists who proved to the president beyond any reasonable doubt that homosexuals are not born that way. It's not a genetic formation from the word go. It's not part of their DNA. This is a habit that's learned, and therefore is a habit that can be unlearned. And as such, a promotion of this vice, people who participate in this vice for exhibition purposes and make ends meet, and those who do it not out of love or feeling, but who do it because they must survive, those ones will be seriously dealt with by this new law that's going to be signed, by this bill that's going to be signed into law.
There's no politics about this, you know. Apparently, some people feel the president was playing a bit of games. Eventually was going to assent to it, but he said, let me chill a little bit, you know, there's a bit of an uproar. Then eventually comes in and signs. I feel like, yes, our man.
And if he had signed at the beginning, would there be less uproar than there is now?
Well, of course, after people get agitated and they become tempestuous, then you come in and save the day. They begin to realize, yeah, now that's our man.
Which people are you talking about?
Ugandans generally, it's basically analysis. It's arguable, really.
Have you taken some trouble to move around the country to feel whether this anti-homosexuality bill or homosexuality, for that matter, is such a big deal for most Ugandans who are struggling with the day-to-day living?
Even those that are starving, that are bothered by so many other things, they're thinking, no, we do not want these guys. We don't want them promoting what they're doing.
You are sounding like, with all due respect,
no, I mean, the research that I do,
wait a minute.
The people I speak to intellectuals like you guys. When I'm downtown, I speak to,
there is 3 intellectuals and there is 1 million.
Okay, I'm assuming you're intellectual. I hope you are.
Absolutely, that's why I'm telling you that there is 3 intellectuals, and you think that
there's 3 intellectuals in Uganda,
and then you expect that to be the entire population of Uganda. You don't sound like Mr. Rauton who was here the other day. The people of Uganda have sent me the people of Uganda. Which people?
That's what I was saying. He says the people of Uganda.
No, now we shall not imitate him. But I'm saying, when you say Ugandans are agitated by this bill,
of course, I've not done research about the 34 million Ugandans, but a good number of Ugandans you will speak to. After this, as you go down the hotel, just find out from 1 or 2 people, the waiters, waitresses, and whatever, and you realize what the situation is like.
Given the fact that we are depending on international aid, does this show that the president signing on this bill is a show of independence for us, that we are able to run things here.
But for goodness sake, when we grow up, we should cease to depend on aid. And that's probably one of the quandaries on our hands. You know, we keep depending on aid, and so we cannot make decisions on our own. You know, we are very careful. What will Big Brother think? And this kind of thing. When they tell us now, pull out of South Sudan and that kind of thing. We need to grow up. We have come of age. We are over 50 years old. The other day I met a guy who is 55 and we were saying for him he's an orphan. I wanted to slap the man.
We're talking about growing up and being able to do things and earning money in our own way. South Sudan is paying for the UPDF's excursion in their country. That's a report that is in the Daily Monitor this morning, as said by an official from the South Sudanese government.
So in other words, we were hired as mercenaries.
Well, that is what we can find out only if we get a copy of the Daily Monitor to find out whether we are there on interventionists, Pan-Africanism, or mercenarism.
I find this very confusing. You know, this is like the letter that was sent from South Sudan to ask for our help.
Which
how true is this? That
well, this was said by the South Sudan Defense Minister, according to the report.
I still think, you know.
But you Ugandans, you know, I don't really understand.
This
We
guy
are
is
dumb
the
when
what
we
now?
do.
Are you
We are
Congolese?
dumb when we don't. When we went in there, how shall we finance this war? Our taxpayers are going to be war, cry and hue. Now it is clear who is paying the bill. How come Southern Sudan, mercenaries?
What's the point is, if these guys are paying us, that means we are going to do what they are telling us. He who pays the piper calls the tunes. If I pay you to do a job, I expect you to do it as I require you to do it.
Brian and Joel, it depends on who is paying and how much bargaining power they have. That South Sudan government, as you see, they did not hire Uganda simply because they are able to hire a mercenary force. They actually called for help, and then this help came with strings attached. So when you are in a position of need and you are begging to be helped, at the end of the day, you do not so much choose the...
yeah, but again, at the end of the day, like you say, I mean, what's clear is where Uganda is falling, the side on which Uganda is.
Let's get a bit lighter this Monday morning and take a look at the front page picture on the Daily Monitor. It is of Sudiru Parelia's daughter and her husband, the husband's family, putting off a toast after their second wedding. Let's remember that this interesting wedding has been a mix of culture and time, getting back to their ordinary roots, but also celebrating it in the times that we're in today. So much so that the wedding has been for almost a week or perhaps a week, and this is the second such edition, the first one having been in the UK.
Right.
Should try that for your daughters, guys. And instead of talking about pictures, talking about pictures, there is an interesting picture of the day here. A little boy adoring King Oyo, and King Oyo looking at him with his stern look and holding his smartphone in hand with headphones and saying, I remember when I was that age not so long ago and I was king.
But I don't know if the king likes it.
It doesn't look like he likes it.
Well, when I see that picture, I'm just reminded last week we were looking at a related picture of somebody prostrating before another quote-unquote king. Not too new.
Well, why do you think the king doesn't like what is happening before him?
First of all, you know, he didn't look, you know.
He doesn't yet feel this
his ministers
wait, you expect the king to smile?
I think a guy like this, he's young. I think he does not really, prostrating is not one of those things.
Many people have actually complained about his demeanor. I remember somebody from Toro saying, but wait a minute, our king, when you approach your subjects, smile and that kind of thing. Be warm towards them. It's really just his demeanor, I would suppose.
That person who made that comment does not know what the king is supposed to be, and we do not blame
No, but of course, if you relate it to others, they smile and that kind of thing. But of course, I can't blame. It's just demeanor. There are people who, smile all the time.
Smiles all the time?
People who...
The king from here, where we are, he smiles all the time. Let's look up the pictures.
Did I say the king from here?
I'm saying that he has to be like others.
Yeah, of course, when he's demanding sympathy and that kind of... But it's an issue of demeanor. You know, some people exude a different one, others are happier and so on.
An environmental issue playing out in the Daily Monitor this morning. There is a fear for floods in the city as more and more wetlands get reclaimed, and the latest being the Chinawataka swamp that has been reclaimed with hundreds of hills of soil, and before we know it, there will be a huge complex or complexes starting up in that part of the country.
Not too long ago, when Dr. Ariama Nyamugisha was still the head of NEMA. There's a place, near where I used to stay. They used to reclaim this place again and again. So I would call the man and be like, what's happening here? So they would come, confiscate the tractors, and then after about 3 days, I find them again. Then I call until I gave up. And many Ugandans have gotten to a point of thinking, you know what? These guys, we cannot fight them because some of them that are reclaiming the swamps are powerful people, which is very unfortunate.
Again, let's go into this Uganda thing of many Ugandans have now come to accept. At what point did Ugandans ever fight for what they want?
Well, some of them have tried. I tried until I gave up, for example, that place that I think being
one, we never fought for our independence, we never fight for anything we believe in. We are just there, let things be as they wish. No one ever complains when they are wrong.
So they can rule us
forever. And that's the Ugandanese thing that should bother us as Ugandans.
But you're the ones who vote the way you do, you're the ones who sign documents.
Isn't it time for us to embrace the fact that we can actually use these places? We can reclaim them and do something good after them.
Well, when they are put up a huge structure there, then it becomes a bit different. It's like if you burn a piece of paper and it turns into ash. There's little you can do to turn the ash back into paper. Just the same way you would turn ice back into water.
And that's why, by the way, we have flooding in certain areas because, you know, the system has been messed up with.
Very many interesting stories both in the regional pages of the Daily Monitor, looking at many of your districts and what's happening therein. And in the next magazine, a very interesting, huge feature story there that talks about lodges. Brian, when was the last time you were in a lodge? These are places, according to the Daily Monitor, where you either pick a bag.
I live in Kisasi and there's so many lodges there. I keep wondering, but what are all these lodges for, sure, in a place like Kisasi?
You may need to take some time and find out from the proprietors of these lodges if it's not more brisk business than the guys who sell
Look what you mean, eh?
I do not know. Tell us, what's in the Observer this morning?
The Observer, YM7 fears NRM vote, and they keep go ahead to say a mama paying price for championing sole candidacy in 2000. Apparently, he is having a taste of his own medicine. The Observer also talks about his Kaihura really leaving. There's allegations that he might be posted to URA, and then Madam Kadina sent to Petroleum Authority.
That's very interesting. I thought you said Kaihura leaving. I said, okay, where is he going to?
Where is he going? What do you mean? NRM youth attack Chankwan's resolution. Of course, these are youth allied to Mama Mbabazi, Prime Minister Mama Mbabazi. They feel, no. We were gazumped. You know, this should not have been the case. We were expecting that the queue would follow a certain way, but anyhow, that's how things are panning out.
How people who, while they were studying, were being told how they are leaders of tomorrow, and that by that time, the same leaders of today were the leaders then, have now grown into adults and are busy clamoring and dividing each other, running over each other with roughshod, all in the name of propagating the same old leaders without looking at their own interests as youth who were told just not so long ago that the leaders of tomorrow. When will Anita's tomorrow come? When will Nakabare's tomorrow come? I thought it was already here.
Do they see it that way? Unfortunately, they don't. You know, when youth are given some money in sacks, they feel we have arrived. And that's the challenge that we have. Our youth need to, I don't know, begin to look at things differently. One of, I think it's Anita or somebody else, who was saying, you see, she was comparing President Museveni to Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. That, you know, the other man stayed long in power and he did tremendous things, so we should give President Museveni more time to do a lot of work. And then I was trying to relate, and I don't think she was right. Because, you see, Lee Kuan Yew, of course, I don't agree with the business of you stay in power forever and so on. I think Lee Kuan Yew was also a totalitarian man, very high-handed, especially in the media. But that guy served these people, you know. That guy ran that country as a meritocracy. Hire cabinet ministers on merit. The other day when I saw Uhuru Kenyatta hiring those ministers, guys who are competent in those fields, I actually got worried because I was thinking, these guys are going to leap and they will leave us a great deal because the kind of people we have in offices here are politicians who are being awarded. I mean, get people who can.
So have the Kenyans run so fast we can't even get sight of them?
Well, I see them moving. There's a bit of progress, but you see the challenge is if there's things I'm not competent about. So you place me where I can deliver. But if you're going to place me in a certain ministry as a reward, it just does not work.
But you are the same person here who was cascading Ali Salasso for turning down a PAC chairperson after she admitted incompetence.
You're the one who, denigrated her. I thought,
and you agreed with me.
She accepted that she is not ubiquitous. Of course, my challenge was there's a bit of underhand politics and so on that's going underneath.
Let's get a bit on the lighter side in the Daily Monitor Healthy Living magazine. There is a huge headline story there of shedding off those kilos, and it's profiling one woman's story on how she cut her weight. Do you find yourself overweight? You may need to read out this part of the Daily Monitor, find out how you can get toned up and accentuate those abs.
Maybe we are beginning to work out.
I'm back to the gym, so I'm trying to work it and 6-pack coming soon.
6-pack.
Good luck. So
now you have one big pack. Hopefully you get fine soon.
This is just.
I want to add a bit of weight, so I'm thinking of eating baking powder so that I spread it.
Then you end up being great. There's newspapers in education in the Daily Monitor this morning, and if we run quickly to the sports section, well, Brian this morning has a wonderful grin on his face.
Oh yes.
Revenge in the air.
Oh yes. Revenge, but I thrashed 5-1. You just did 2-1. Could have done better. Okay. You won after all.
I won after all. I'm feeling good. I have a great time. But KCCA there losing at yesterday on Saturday 2-1. But the good thing is that they had beaten El Merreikh 2-0 in Sudan, so which was good for them. They qualified to the next round. But Victoria University winning the game, but not being able to qualify because they lost the first match 3-0. So that's a bit sad for them.
And if you look into the sports pages of the Daily Monitor this morning, there is a story that's talking about Inzikuru. You remember her?
Yeah.
Uganda's steeplechase champion, this wonderful gazelle from Arua, who, by all accounts, has fallen from grace to grass. And the Daily Monitor kicker says, put simply, it's very difficult in Uganda to strike a balance between mothering and working, especially if it's some hard work like running. And this comes off Nzukuru's very dismal performance in the half marathon that took place in the eastern town of Mbale just not so long ago.
She's plummeted, unfortunately. Of course, many people blame it to many things, family wrangles and so on. She's not together, but I believe she'll come up again. She seems to be slowly but surely realizing, you know what, I need to up my game. I can't keep it this way. We hope she does. We hope she does pull up.
I'm told when the husband cheated on her, she got up, the house, removed all the iron sheets and told him,
okay, now
that
drama.
Ex-husband who is now deceased.
Yeah, he passed and so on.
Yeah. In the Observer this morning, as always, every Monday the Observer brings you a transcript of that Desert Island disc that plays out on another radio station in the city. Get yourself a copy, just in case you miss it. And I must declare my conflict of interest here.
But a focus also in the Observer on the first UCU female guild president. Isn't this good for ladies taking up positions of leadership?
Even emancipation. I was having a chat with young girls the other day. I was telling them, we have a predicament on our hands. Yeah, we are trying to uplift the girl child at the expense of the boy child.
Which guys were you talking to? Which guys?
They were just young guys that were just trying to, chit chat on a couple of things.
No, Brad, now I understand the predicament of our friend Joel. Here you are, you've just met a wonderful set of guys. Rather than speaking to them on, those issues that, would make him move from the way he is to something else, he's discussing with them philosophy, national policy, and all that. Please.
Now I'm getting cancer from married men, eh?
Absolutely, you need to update with that field. But yes, that first UCC female girl president, remember she takes on this position, having had the situation where the former girl president who just resigned was involved in fraud. In case you don't want to know what kind of fraud this was, he forged his birth certificate. No, his baptism. No, his baptism certificate.
Right.
To show that he's Anglican. No, to show that he's Anglican.
So that he's admitted.
No, so that you become.
Yeah, because
so that you become a guild president.
Anglican,
that you cannot be a guild president unless you are Anglican. Let's look at this kind of appetite that takes place in some of these institutions. Why would you curtail someone's potential to lead an institution?
Is it a written down regulation, or is it one of those unspoken ones?
Well, to the extent that he faced the disciplinary committee, not so much because of the forgery, but the fact that, if he was Anglican and he forged his birth certificate or his birthday, perhaps that wouldn't have been the issue. But that he was non-Anglican, forged a baptism certificate to show that he's Anglican, that was the big issue.
Yeah, he should have gone as, you say, he was Catholic, and then faced it as it were, made it, or
he would not have gone by the word nomination.
By the word nomination, which is unfortunate. You go elsewhere. If these guys are saying ours, we are an Anglican university and that kind of thing, which of course might be unfair, like you say, but that's the rule.
Well, in the Observer, there is a very interesting insight in the politics of this country, and the team comes up with a huge story titled "Why Museveni Fears NRM Vote," and it's bringing this vote into serious perspective from the word 2000 when Dr. Kizza Besigye came up and declared that he was going to demystify the man in President Museveni. Since then, and the story seems to be bending towards the direction that now the Right Honourable Amambabazi is paying the price for seeking a sole presidency and candidacy at the NRM in 2000. So the word here may be Kama.
Like a cousin of mine says, "Aye, there."
Well, here we are. We come to the end of our press review this morning. Let's take a very short break. When we return, it's the big story, an interesting big story that you don't want to miss here, Morning at NTV.
The average age of the entire national team is under 18. And
the primary role of Team Uganda is to remain to Division 2.
Probably that's the only thing that can make one or two rugby fans smile, that the clubs are doing well.
The players haven't put on they haven't wore the game faces. They're not the animals we saw last season, because Ferguson had the same group of players, and he did deliver the Holy Grail, which is the title.
the average age of the entire national team is under 18. And
the primary role of Team Uganda is to remain to Division 2.
Probably that's the only thing that can make one or two rugby fans smile, that the clubs are doing well.
The players haven't put on they haven't wore the game faces. They're not the animals we saw last season, because Ferguson had the same group of players, and he did deliver the Holy Grail, which is the title.
A wife who you got through the office will be very insecure about you working in another place.
Always hunt up, don't hunt down.
You mean what? Go after your superior?
How dare you suggest that when a woman is aggressed against, we should look at the person who's been aggressed against?
Let the couple be. Let them sort out their issues. When they need you, then you come in.
Prostitution is being given a new brand.
All I know is that I connect people.
Some call it skinny dipping, others call it chitwe.
If it's a principle for you, then the cookie should not hold you hostage.
Let's not choose to open our zips and do whatever our urge is, because I don't think that an urge is stronger than your will to say no.
People attach a lot of questions, shame to HIV.
I do not believe that when you wear a short dress, you should be around.
Marrying a wife is like having assured sex.
Anytime you come, you must have.
Yes.
To raise a population that has no clue how to be men.
Can you bring out a quality family?
I don't get married for my family.
Men, every Wednesday only on NTV.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
how? I
went to the nurse and asked why. Why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive?
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombi ekiro lwaleeta suzeewo lwe bakwokeza. Nazeepoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokeza.
Kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
Marriage is tough, but you suck it up and you stick through the good times and the bad times. What kind of example are you setting for your sister who is about to walk down the aisle herself?
Shut up, Nandi. Seriously, you just keep poking and poking at other people's relationships. You're like a cancer.
Ati, I hope you're discussing fashion. Because you have everything under control, yes? And the only crisis we're going to have is you clashing with the red carpet.
We've made mistakes. And that's what marriage is all about. Mistakes and forgiveness. For better or for worse.
I'm sorry, but I've got to ask.
Nothing happened between me and Lucia.
Well, Lulu is not here, and if she comes, I'll let her know you. You picked the wrong person to mess with, Lucy.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Thank you for watching Morning at NTV. Remember, you can be a part of the show by sending us an SMS to 65565. You can also follow us at Twitter. Our handle is @morning@NTV, and Facebook. Please go and like our page Morning at NTV. We shall be reading some of your messages during the show. I now return you to Simon at the rooftop for the big story.
Thanks, Mabel. Now on the big story this morning, every week, Monday to be very precise and to be even more exact, in about an hour, the police will be holding their weekly press conference. I can bet without any fear of contradiction that at this press conference they're going to parade before the media suspected criminals, some rapists, many robbers, calling them all sorts of criminal names that they can find. And we in the media will do the noble thing. We will swallow this information, root, stock, and shoot, and parade them in our newspapers the next morning, have their voices on radio, and show their faces on television, labeling them rapists, criminals, thugs, robbers, brigands, mention it. And these, for all intents and purposes, are simply suspects. Even if they were caught in flagrante delicto, they remain suspects, and we in the media for often 2 times have convicted them in the court of public opinion. Is this the way it should be done? Most recently, and on a very sad note, we convicted in our court of public opinion a nurse who allegedly injected an innocent infant with a cannula suspected to have been contaminated by her own blood, which blood turned out to be HIV positive. And without acting from the sub judice angle, this is a case going on in the courts of law. We'll ask the million-dollar question. Do we in the media, or how do we in the media, handle stories laden with issues of privacy and the all innocent until proven guilty stance? That's our big story this morning. And yes, we do not have a media analyst to break it down for us, neither do we have a lawyer to tell us what is allowed within the confines of the law. But we have somebody that is here for all intents and purposes as a victim, someone who will easily, or who could easily be convicted by us in the courts of public opinion. Who is this? Our guest this morning. Mary Katana here has lived with HIV and AIDS for 25 years.
Yeah.
And she's still growing strong, at least if my eye is anything to go by.
I believe so.
She learned about her HIV status in 1992, if I'm very right.
That's right.
And that was soon after leaving university.
That's right.
And you were a financial controller in a big organization that was involved in the fight against HIV and AIDS.
That's right.
You have since gone on to acquire a lot of knowledge and delve yourself further into HIV and AIDS activism, carrying out sensitizations against stigmatization.
That's right.
I had a very long intro on how we in the media convict people out of sheer lack of research or the absence of recognition of the fact that somebody can be guilty until proven innocent. Do you face this level of stigmatization wherever you are, whatever you do, that you, having lived with HIV and AIDS, you are always at the risk of infecting the wider society in whatever you do, however mundane it could be, including and not limited to sharing a cup of coffee or space with me?
That's right. I just want to start by collecting one impression. I'm not a victim of HIV. I'm a person living with HIV, and I can say that I'm a witness to AIDS. What does that mean? I have seen the atrocities that society has caused on people who are suspected to be living with HIV. We've seen people's houses burnt. We've seen people thrown out of jobs. We've seen children thrown out of schools, all because they are branded to be HIV positive. And in this particular instance that we are talking about, unfortunately, the media has taken on multiple roles. The media has acted as the reporter of events,
which we are supposed to be by us,
which I think is the rightful space for the media. But the media has also taken on the investigator's role, because before the investigation was concluded, the media was out branding this healthcare worker as a murderer. And if you see the public response to the media reportings, it's so outrageous, and rightly so. the media has taken on the role of a prosecutor, and the media is also the witness, and the media, above all, is a judge. Even before the case of the health worker was heard in court, the media branded the health worker as a murderer. So what is the role of the media? I want to tell you.
But really, how would the media have handled this case differently from what it did?
I think there are options. There are options of doing this. My expectation is that
you as a media person, you receive a distress call or a tip for that matter, that here is a nurse, we have a distressed mother whose child has been injected with a suspectedly contaminated cannula, and you know what that means. You have lived with HIV and AIDS. You wouldn't want anyone else to live in that condition, more so your own child. How would the media have reported this without putting in some bit of emotion? Perhaps even more than just a bit of emotion.
Absolutely. What the media has succeeded to do is to fuel public emotion. And the media has a responsibility to act on issues of national interest, issues that are likely to ignite public anger and public sentiment.
So are you trying to accuse us, we in the media, of being extremely sensational and very insensitive to people's privacy, like the nurse's privacy for that matter? Because we splashed her face. In fact, if you see some of the video footage that we showed on this particular media house, there is a scuffle to have, this lady was trying so hard to cover her face, and there was a scuffle between the police, who are supposed to expose this lady, and we in the media who needed her face to show the whole world that this is the face of a murderer.
I think there are many people whose hands are tainted as far as this particular case is concerned. Is it the role of the police to unveil so-called suspects to the public? Is it not the role of the police to do investigation? And do you do investigation by parading suspects in front of cameras?
That's the $1 million question. I would have loved very much this police spokesperson, Judith Nabakoba, or you, the Inspector General of Police, if you are watching, or you, the Commandant of Police of Kampala's metropolitan area, to answer. Are you supposed to expose publicly those suspected criminals?
Yeah.
Or are you supposed to carry out your investigation, pass on the file to the Directorate of Public Prosecution, and the courts of law determine whether someone is guilty or innocent, and after that, the party can begin? That's Millie's argument.
That's right. And out of all that, what the media has succeeded to do is to blend the whole incident as an HIV-driven incident. I'll tell you, having interacted with healthcare workers, that accidents of this nature happen 1 million times. For every practicing healthcare worker, a week never passes before a needle prick injury happens. But because of the media, all this has been, reduced to all being HIV-driven.
Let me just ask you, Millie, isn't it true that some people living in your condition with HIV and AIDS possibly do not know how to handle their situation positively, and they go out on a vendetta to ensure that everybody who they come across shares with them their condition? I'm simply saying they go out deliberately, infect people, and this could have been the case in this case, in this way that we're talking about.
I'm not aware of any such individuals. What I know is that for anybody who tests for HIV, they undergo a process of counseling, and through that counseling, they are prepared on how to manage their condition. And more so, a healthcare worker whose job, whose training, whose responsibility is to look after patients. There is no way a person in that state can wake up in the morning to say, I'm going to go out and cause this kind of harm to a person, moreover a toddler, whom the person doesn't know.
But you see, we are arguing from the point of suppose or if what not.
That's right.
The facts on the ground seem to suggest differently, and without us going to delve into the merits and demerits of this case, many times we have seen reports playing out in the media, again, and you may want to blame us for being extremely sensational, but you have people living in your condition who go out of the way. They may not even be medical practitioners, who big men going out to infect young people even when they know about the HIV condition. Why wouldn't the media come and say, look, if you see this face, run for dear life. This is a guy who's out to finish us as a society.
If there is any such a person, this is a person who is not appreciative of the condition in which they are. And this comes down to the long-term implications of the way we in the media have sensationalized this whole case of the healthcare worker. People who fear testing for HIV because they know once I'm known, I'm likely to be treated the way this healthcare worker
Let me
is
just
treated.
ask a straight question. What is the extent of stigmatization towards people living with HIV?
Unfortunately, 30 years since the onset of the AIDS epidemic, this particular case is showing us that public acceptance of HIV and people living with HIV has not gotten to a level that we thought, those of us who are at the front lines, that it should be. Because, you know, the lady has been condemned, anger.
But did you really expect people watching this particular story developing on their television set to say, oh, poor nurse, it was an accident, or, you know, to act with empathy towards the nurse as opposed to the child?
They could have done that if they were provided with the accurate information and if the media did not bland the whole incident with an HIV logo. I tell you.
But that was the gist of the story. What else? I mean, many times nurses prick themselves and prick us and all that. But where there is the absence of HIV and AIDS, that's dog bites man. But in this case, we're seeing man biting dog.
And that answers your question on HIV stigmatization. We are fueling all this because stigma and acceptance of people living with HIV still, you know, fuels very high in people's hearts, in people's minds, and people's brains. If it wasn't for HIV...
But really, and sadly, I must declare my conflict of interest here. I happen to know the mother of this child. I don't know the child perhaps, but I know the family of this child. If you met this mother that is on tenterhooks, because it can be either positive or negative, and whichever way is a lifelong, you know, they could call it a death sentence. What would you look her in the face and tell her in light of the developments around the story and how it developed and played out in the media?
I know how painful it is to live with HIV, and I'm personally very sympathetic as a mother, as a person living with HIV, to the family. But all I'm saying is that there are options of handling with this other than publishing it in the newspapers, on television, and all that. I'm not in any way defending anyone. I'm saying, all I'm saying is that let the public get to hear the accurate story. And I would love to meet the mother and talk to her. And I guess she has, you know, talked to 101 people telling her of what to expect. And my prayer, my honest prayer, is that with the interventions that the baby has received, the baby turns out to be HIV negative.
On the flip side, if you met this nurse and looked her in the face, you as a person living with HIV and AIDS, and her given the kind of Herculean task she has on her shoulder as a savior of life as opposed to a terminator of life, what would you tell her?
I think I'm also sympathetic with the nurse as well, because I can appreciate, like imagine what could have happened in that treatment room with a 2.5-year-old child seeing, you know, an injection, looking into their eyes, and the fight and the struggles that would have happened, and you know, the amount of pressure both the mother and the nurse were in to get the treatment on the baby, because what we are getting is that the baby was having problems and breathing badly. So, you know, both of them were under a lot of pressure to get treatment into the baby with the hope that the treatment will get the baby
Shouldn't this nurse, knowing her condition, because she surely knew, shouldn't she have been a bit more careful in this particular case and other cases she has handled in the past and will handle if she's not deregistered?
I think all healthcare workers exercise their duties on a daily basis with due diligence and
but there is a word called negligence.
We are yet to prove this.
There is a word called malicious intent.
All these issues are under the courts of law.
There is another word called evil-mindedness.
I'm ignorant about all these issues, and I really hope that the courts of law will help us to establish the bottom line of all these issues.
But the courts of law are not from heaven or any other society that doesn't consume our press. The judges and magistrates watch news, and I reckon that there must be a judge or magistrate watching us this morning. There are judges who read newspapers as the first thing they do when they wake up. These are people who read and feel the public pulse. They read the court of public opinion and how it feels. Do you think that they will exercise jurisdiction over this matter and possibly ride a wave that is running contrary to that of the public court of appeal?
I have full trust in the professionalism of our courts of law, and I believe 100% that the courts will do their due diligence to find the actual incident and what happened, and deliver a judgment.
Meaning you're being political here. If it turned out, and this is for argument's sake, that this lady is convicted for attempted murder, manslaughter, whatever you call it, and the convict is bang, case closed, what would you say to the judiciary?
Here is the issue to NTV and your viewers. Even before the trial was brought to court for hearing, prosecution dropped the charge of attempted murder. Why? In my uninformed opinion, because I'm not an expert on law, I'm an expert on public health.
Having read all these so many books. This is her CV over here. She has done almost everything below the sun.
I'm an expert on public health, but the prosecution did not find ground to charge the nurse against attempted murder.
All right, let's get away from the argument.
I want to believe that the courts of law will find the necessary sentence, the necessary judgment, and will not be necessarily influenced by the sensationalization that has happened in the media. I want to tell you something. What the media has succeeded is causing public panic. If now you are taking your baby to hospital,
more so that medical center where this happened,
everywhere, anywhere, your baby having an injection, what's going on in your mind? If you are needed to take an HIV test, what is going on in your mind? And what all we are asking of the media is to be objective, be rational, be sensitive to what the issues you are reporting and the likely implications on whatever you do, and remain factual, because I tell you there are 1,000,001 people who look to the media as the source of accurate information, and if the information that comes out of the media has loopholes as far as accuracy is concerned, that leaves all of us as the public in a total jeopardy.
I am indeed in the state of jeopardy here, having to superintend over such a discussion where there is clearly a vote of no confidence on sometimes what we do as the media. Let's take a very quick break. When we return, it's Simon Says. The maxim is simple. One is innocent until proven guilty. Many a times, in a country or society where there is a tendency towards mob justice, where people perform their duties without tact and detachment, where people attach emotion in everything they do, most often than not, you will be guilty until you're proven innocent. But even when you're proven innocent, that tag on you as having been guilty is very difficult to erase. For most of you, impressions or perceptions are as good as a reality. What am I saying in all this? We as the media, indeed, it's incumbent on us, just like Millie said, to be objective in what we do. Yes, we may show some empathy, but certainly must ride on the principle of truth, fact, all the time. And yes, in all that we do, we must exercise high levels of professionalism, tact, and detachment. Anything short of that makes us part of what we have always been accused of being: rumor mongers and good-for-nothing purveyors of information tinged with inaccuracies, falsehoods, and to create public, you call it, anxiety?
Absolutely.
And for the most part, odium. Have a tremendous morning. In whatever you do today, wherever this day takes you, have a wonderful and productive day, but always learn that people should never be taken for the perceptions that we have around them. Everyday life is next, but we shall return with a big story tomorrow, same time, same place. Stay with NTV. It's Morning at NTV.
Obonyumirwa ebyemizannyo jangu nkulage.
Does! And Adam Johnson, the boyhood Newcastle United man, flying in the face of all football logic. A magnificent goal by Robin van Persie. Ferdinand! Everton lead at Old Trafford. Walcott, Giroud! Put in by Suarez. Super Suarez. Gonna backs it up! Checo finds the net in spectacular style. Robert penalty for Borussia Dortmund. And he scores.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
how tugenda okwera kekiro yanga mwami omanyi yakeko nange omulundi gwe gusembayo.
I went to the nurse and I asked why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive.
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombye ekiro lwaleeta suzeewo lwe bakwokezza nazeepoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokezza.
Kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
Marriage is tough, but you suck it up and you stick through the good times and the bad times. What kind of example are you setting for your sister who is about to walk down the aisle herself?
Shut up, Nandi. Seriously, you just keep poking at other people's relationships. You're like a cancer.
And I hope you're discussing fashion because you have everything under control, yes? And the only crisis we're going to have is you clashing with the red carpet.
We've made mistakes. And that's what marriage is all about. Mistakes and forgiveness. For better or for worse.
I'm sorry, but I've got to ask. Nothing happened between me and Lucia.
Well, Lulu is not here, and if she comes, I'll let her know you. You picked the wrong person to mess with, Lucy.
Yo! Aro, give me 5 stress. 3 gonorrhea.
Kale muli wano, you think you've brought campasas. Omwana yena sobola gamba super deep. Si myaka jaffe.
I'm like, I like my swag too. So what about it? Then she was like, I also like your accent. That village accent. Now.
Okay, why didn't say when you got political tayaka no muzanga nakajawa.
Katina kambuza. Mukabete, why are you crying? Nikagamba basajja engeri gye bafulumiza mu lukwago.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover. Put that in Kiprotich's accent.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
What are you going to do for the mine to become ours?
As the mayor of San Pedro del Oro, and given the amount of sulfur of El Chamuco's spring waters, I've decided to confiscate Suarez's land.
want you to look under every rock for Gabriela Suarez. I want her dead or alive. You got it?
Watch her house? Why is that? What happened?
Gabriela Suarez has escaped.
The boy isn't here. What do you mean he isn't here?
La Patrona. You're watching Morning at NTV.
A very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just joining us, wherever you are, thank you so much for taking time off and watching Morning at NTV. Now, it's about 7 minutes after 8 o'clock. And some of you are taking your kids to school. Others are coming back from work. Others are still in the Valentine mood. And some people wore some of the most ridiculous attires I've ever seen on Valentine. Red the whole way. They kind of dyed their hair red. And put out a picture on my Facebook page. Go there and check it out. And let me know some of the things that you also wore on Valentine's Day. And yeah, if you got caught, sorry, man. Sorry, but those are, it's a hard knock life. If you've been playing and the woman found out, yeah, I guess for some women, good for you. I want to quickly go to some Facebook messages here. I want to thank you, first of all, for loving the show. We are currently, man, this thing is just playing me, we are currently for over 4,000 people on our Facebook page. Thank you so much for loving the show. And I'll quickly read some of the messages that you have posted and shared with us. Kalani John saying, guys, you will make me get sacked from my job because of this fresh and splendid program. I need to twina mirimu one, otherwise twandikuwa do mirimu. G. Mukama says, Brian, you should be wishing every day was Valentine's Day so that you demonstrate to us how they eat a 6-course meal. You guys really had a great show on Friday. Thank you so much. Augustine Fabiano saying, you guys make my mornings awesome. Abdul MJ saying, you are the right people we've been looking for a very long time. Abdul Karim Horajim saying, you really made people wanted and deserved. I think that he's commenting on the Friday show. We had a phenomenal show on Friday. That was our Valentine's special. If you missed it, yes, you can see some of the feedback on our Facebook page. Kasik John saying, I'm ready for everyday life on Morning at NTV. Thank you so much. And it's an interesting topic is coming up. Muhar says, I'm so tuned in for the press review. Thank you. Lots of comments. There's so little time. Women's Day Banquet 2014 saying, you are one of Uganda's greatest ambassadors. Thank you so much. Go to our Twitter and like and follow the page, or you can like our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. Neka SMS, please don't forget it, 6565. You can send it there. Now, if you're getting out of your home, if you're trying to tell some friends which roads to avoid, coming up, your traffic report. Stay with us. It's 10 minutes after 8 o'clock. If you're just joining us and you're thinking, which roads should I avoid? Which roads should I take? Check this out. Some of us have sent pictures to us already. And I'd like to remind you, wherever you are, you can send us a message on our Twitter, Morning at NTV, or you can Facebook us, Morning at NTV. Now, you can also WhatsApp the photo to 0777 163-730. You can WhatsApp it there. That number will be on your screen in a short while. But let's take a look at some of the pictures that you have sent straight from 7 o'clock. How about sending a message? Let me see. A message. How about Muchunguzi sending us a message at Bukoto Chisasi Road? That's where he was at that point. The lights were still on at 7. And Chira Road near the police, there's a lot of traffic over there. Near the police, traffic is really slow. Yusuf Lule Road, there's also some little traffic there, and you can try and find out where to use. Kayunga Stage, you can see the traffic is really slow. Another message from Herbert at Acacia. Herbert, thank you so much for sending those messages. At Acacia, you can see the Corsa just in front of Herbert Sky. Guests taking photos and reporting. Now, let's move over to Acacia. Again, as you, I think, complete next to the golf club, the traffic is really thick over there. And it's usually thick at that place. And, yeah, I guess he goes on. The other photos are still at Acacia. Traffic is really thick. Wherever you are, please send us a photo of the traffic that's going on at Chintu Road here next to the Serena. I'm viewing from the rooftop and it is really clear. So if you're going to your office, if say you work in MTN on Stanbic Bank or Parliament, it's clear you can use that road and you'll get to your office on time. It's approximately 12 after 8. Mabel is standing by at the NTV studios to tell us whose birthday it is today. Good morning.
Happy birthday to you,
And I couldn't agree more with some of you who are wishing we could still continue with the 6-course meal. Indeed, I feel hungry already. But today, as we celebrate birthdays, Hamed bin Isaac, who studied at the Islamic University in Uganda, was born this day. And he actually works here at NTV, as well as Irene, who celebrated her birthday on Saturday. Unfortunately, Irene, I hope there's some cake behind there. Irene does a great job here. And also Alex Okecha, who went to Kaboja Secondary School, celebrates his birthday today. He also went to Brook House School in Nairobi. Happy birthday, Alex. And moving on to some of your messages, Edgar says the show is great. Andrew Mwanga sent in an interesting message. He says, kudos to the guest. She has tried to put a line of balance in the case of the nurse, God forbid. If I was to apportion blame for the stigmatization that has come up from that case, media houses would be number one, including NTV, according to Andrew Mwanga. And he says, then the police officers who work as camera handboys for the cameras. Well, those are his opinions there. Bainom Gisha Steven says he's waiting for everyday life. And we have a message here from Mr. Katende, who says, regarding the press review, he likes the fact that Museveni has accepted to sign the gay bill, and when he does, it's going to be actually terrific for our country. And he also likes KCC's victory. Good morning at NTV. Remember, if you haven't yet liked our page, please join the wonderful family of over 4,300 people who have liked our page. We have Pius here saying he is disappointed by the lady we had on air because she was defending the nurse whom he has called a name which I shall not repeat. And then Joseph Wanume says the media is always exaggerating health issues. They sound like they're intended, like the one of Mukono, forgetting that there's an MP who died in IHK while giving birth, and for one, it was silent, meaning it is natural. And yeah, you can go onto Facebook to see the discussion and be part of it as well. We now return to Brian at the Serena Hotel rooftop for the big story. I beg your pardon, for Everyday Life.
Everyday Life, proudly powered by NTV and HTC. Can you imagine that? So I want to, first of all, before we get into the section, to show you a very beautiful design. HTC is the latest phone, HTC One. And guess what? Starting tomorrow, you will get an opportunity to win this beautiful gadget. Yeah, and I'll be telling you how you can win, but we'll be asking you simple questions, and you can, if you get the answer right, you win the HTC right here. Proudly powered by, of course, NTV and HTC One, and we'll be starting that tomorrow. Check out our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and you can also tweet at Morning at NTV and to get details of how you can win this beautiful thing. It's really beautiful. I think I'm going to own one too, and so please, tomorrow let me catch you and give you more details on how you can win a beautiful HTC phone right here on Everyday Life. Now today we're going to look at something that most of us have been prone to. Some people call it a decision that you just make as you shop, or you never plan to shop, but when you look at something you say, what the hell, let me get it. And that is impulse buying. Are you a victim? Has it cost you and your family? Has it reduced the amount of money you spend, or actually increased the amount of things you take back home when you are not planning to? Today we're going to look at that. But before we get into that discussion, let's take a look at the profile of our guest. And there you go, the profile of our guest, and Mustafa Barnabas Mugisa. Welcome to the show.
My pleasure, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How was your Valentine's?
Fantastic.
Fantastic?
Yes, fantastic. I had my wife give me a gift, and I thought she knows how to play it out.
Hey, and you never gave her a gift?
Of course I did.
You are a mentor at the Summit Business Review. What exactly do you do there?
Summit Business Review, firstly, is a magazine for people who are interested in succeeding. We have got a lot of publications about politics, about lifestyle, but Uganda needs to understand that if they are going to succeed, especially in the 10, 20 years' time, they need to begin to think about money. How do you get money, and how do you spend it wisely?
Right.
Otherwise, that is a critical tool. If you don't know how to use your money, the decisions we make now will affect your long-term success.
Right.
And the problem with money is that when you get it now, and in the future you don't have it, then that is the biggest suffering. So the Summit Business Review magazine aims at empowering younger people, entrepreneurs and executives on how to understand the art of making money and spending it wisely.
Right. I also read somewhere that you have proud examiner. What exactly is that?
Well, you understand that many people struggle a lot to make a lot of money, but they forget in the first place to protect the little they have. So, as the president of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, we help give people facts to understand what is that small thing causing them their money to leak. So, because if you look at the statistics, an average company in Uganda is losing 5% of their annual revenue to fraud. Now, if you look at a small business, for example, a family business making 100 million every year, you multiply by 5%, you find that is a huge exposure. All the profit you are supposed to make has been lost in fraud. Now, there is no way you can grow if you are allowing that small leakage of your revenue. So this is why you see most businesses, they are remaining at the same size over the years. Somebody works beginning year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. You see they are very busy, they are sweating, but the business is almost at the same level. So what is the problem? Because there is some small thing in the background taking the money, and unfortunately the people we trust most are the ones who really do some of these things, because fraud is clandestine. That is the biggest challenge. In fact, if you can fix that small thing of fraud, you can significantly improve your well-being by a bigger percentage. At home you have a housemaid, for example, you buy 10 kilograms of sugar, she steals one. You get? You are not there now, maybe there is guests using your electricity to make some eats. So you find these small things, when you combine them, they are really a big cost to your success.
Right. You're talking about success, and one of your taglines is, Mustafa, your success partner. How do Ugandans rate success?
Now, an average Ugandan will rate success in 3 ways. First is financial independence. Somebody wants to have enough money to buy anything which they feel like. Take your kids to a good school, eat very well, sleep in a very good house, drive a good car. Unfortunately, in Uganda, that financial independence, they are spending to appear to be financially independent, which is a very big cost to our economy. Because if you spend to appear to be financially independent, then it means that you are not going to take the right decisions. And then success is in social respect. Social respect, many people are investing, for example, in you want the society to respect you when they see you moving around. So many people's first choice is, one, become a politician. When you become a member of parliament, you are socially respected. Everybody in the papers will talk about you. But also people want to become executives, which is a very good, I would say that is something which is very good.
That's a good goal too.
But now, unfortunately, in the bid to get social respect, they are saying when you have a lot of money, you are going to become socially respected. And in the process of looking for the money, they are forgetting the values which are supposed to define successful society. Values like ethics, integrity, doing things on a fair playing field, not stealing, things like that. And then finally, three, we are defining success in terms of, because we said financial independence, social respect, of course, good health. You don't want a situation where you have all the money, people are respecting you, but then you are on your deathbed, you see?
Yes.
So this is why, Brian, as you do everything, you must avoid lifestyles which expose you to health risks. You don't want to do excessive drinking because you may get diseases in your stomach which you can't explain. You want to avoid smoking because you know long-term impact. It's very bad to your health. By the time you begin making money, you are an ambitious younger man, brilliant, beautiful, and the people are going to like you, of course, handsome. So these things, you have to make sure that your choices you do as you look for money are giving you financial independence, social respect, but of course, at the end of the day, good health.
Let's focus on impulse buying. And I kind of think, when I think about that, I link it to wanting to appear that, you know, you're well off.
Yes.
In your research, in the work you do, what have you found the reasons that make people, you know, because for lack of better, this is a disease.
Yes, sure.
You know, a woman goes into a shop or passing by the mall and then comes back with a huge cabinet of things she was not planning to buy. Guys do that, especially on gadgets. What's the problem?
Of course, firstly, you need to understand what is impulse buying. Impulse buying means that you are just buying anything without having planned for it. Now, many people are victims to this. One of the things when I was still a student, which I got to realize unfortunately late, was whenever we met with my friends in a place which is an entertainment place, in a shopping mall, maybe in a supermarket, it is likely that I will buy them something. So when you go back and realize, when I go in areas which promote buying, of course you are going to spend all the money.
Yes.
So firstly, you first need to understand your priorities. Know which kind of peers do I need to associate with. There are some peers you may have, they get money in crooked ways. You see them spending, and then you also want to spend the way they are spending. Now that is going to cause your mood also to be what? Spending. But to avoid impulse buying, first plan for your future. What is it that you want to achieve in life? Now, people have overrated the word planning because we take it theoretically. We want to say plan, and then some at the beginning of the year, many people have drawn plans. At the end of the day, these things are not realistic, not achievable. The rule I say is have your clear 2-3 annual realistic targets you want to achieve as a person. You're going to say, okay, since I'm renting and society defines my success as having a house, the first thing I'm going to do this year is buy a plot of land. Now, when you say buy a plot of land, you're going to say, how much is this plot of land I'm going to be comfortable with? Is it something for 5 million, something for 20 million, or something for 50 million? Now, if you say something for 50 million, when your monthly salary is 1 million, I would say it is not realistic somehow. Because 1 million times 12 months in a year, that is 12 million.
Yes.
Now, it is impossible for you to buy a plot of, unless if you steal. Unless if you get windfall. You get the point? So, if you are going to plan your life, you are going to say, if my maximum revenue is going to be 12 after taxes and everything, so how do I plan for 12? If you look at the proper rule of saving is the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule. 80% you can spend, 20% for your investments. Now you're going to say, if I have 12 million and I want to have a land, what do? I can go to the bank, get a salary loan, get this 12 million, and buy the land. So my monthly revenue, 20% of it, that is 200, will be offset to pay this loan. Now, you see, Europe, US has developed because of that model of mortgages. You see, you as Brian, you cost the economy a lot of money. Even if you have it, you get 600 million, go and buy land and put there a house. So you find that you are sleeping in a house of what's 5 billion.
And it's just there.
It's just there. You see, money is important if it is saving you significant costs or it is helping to increase.
Does this thing move from just small things? Because some people will go in and buy shoes. Every time a woman goes to work, especially women, ladies, shoes, dress, phone, this and that. Does it also extend to big purchases like houses? Because I know of a friend, you know, who was driving by a house, looked at it and said, wow, it's beautiful. And she got it.
Now, the challenge which is occurring these days is that our peers, when you go to campus, you get kind of friends who maybe their families are well off. You see, the whole thing of impulse buying is to ensure that you don't live outside your means. At the end of the day, if you have the money, because we are saying that when you get your money, you should spend it 50% in your basic needs,
right?
30% in your wants, 20% for savings. Savings, I'm looking at one emergency fee or emergency fund. You get an accident, you have the money to fix you, and then also on your savings for your for your retirement, things like that. So you find that when you have your 50%, your money is sufficient to buy things you can buy. It is not a bad thing. Life is so short. You need to live and be happy. The problem is trying to live and be happy, overspending yourself. You get? Now, that is the problem. Because if you find, I want to be like Brian, I don't know how Brian makes his money. So I want to, when he buys a shoe, I also want to buy a shoe. Now, because you see now the problem which occurs especially with men is that their wives have gone through orgies. Now the orgies happen to have been married to some of the rich guys. Now for the other one, the man has the money. She will buy all these things the way she likes it.
Right.
Because the cash flow is sufficient.
Yes.
Now for you, maybe Mustafa's girlfriend or Brian's girlfriend, you may not have the money. Now, because when they meet, they see they are living excessive lifestyle. Now, she wants to live the same. So she puts pressure on you and begins buying these things. And of course, this is very bad. This is why we are saying, you as the man or any person out there, firstly, what is our financial priority? This is why I have found it very useful. For example, for savings, I have a savings account. There are many banks in town which you can keep money, and they are not charging you any cost at all because they need long-term money for their own growth. And
they also give you rules. You won't withdraw anything in this amount.
So you have that account, one for your savings.
Yes.
And then you have another, your own account maybe for your loan, and your other account for spending.
Right.
Now you only put that money which you can afford to lose.
For risk of being branded stingy, what do you do then? Because also one thing I've realized, yes, you can plan.
Yes.
But you know, you can be there and you have some money and you see, like, I'm a sucker for gadgets. I like gadgets. You know, I'm now looking at this phone, HTC One. If I'm passing a mall and I see it and I know I can get it and I buy it, yet I was not planning to do that. Now, what do you do then?
Of course, gadgets. For me, I use an Apple iPad. I can tell you that was around 2009.
When you got it?
I got into a conference and I found almost I was out of place. Everybody was tapping. I felt really, I needed this thing.
And for you are scrolling.
For me, I have paper.
Yes.
I have paper. So, and also, as a consultant, you have to be seen to be bringing solutions, not problems.
Yes.
If you come, your phone has broken the screen, you are using paper, somebody is going to wonder, is this guy actually fit to advise me? So now, that's why I told you about the society's definition of successful. So, if there are tools of trade, it is not impulse buying, it is an investment for your business.
Okay.
So you need to understand how much am I going to invest in growing myself and my career, because that is a very good investment. Now, Brian, if I find the phone you are carrying is broken, has a broken screen. Now here I am seeing you are using a Samsung, you have something which I don't even know the brand. I'm going to wonder, is this guy fit to host me on this show? You get the point.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you have to understand who is your customer and how do you present yourself to that customer.
Okay.
The customer is saying, I need a role model. So if you're going to be a role model, then you have to
So businesses, for businesses, be wise, you know, if you bought something like that, it's an investment. Exactly. If it's helping you move to the next level, then that's an investment.
Exactly.
Let's get down to the personal thing. And I know most of you probably have this issue. Some of you guys have complained about your wife spending too much money buying things that she didn't really need, goes into town and does not need some of those things. Today we are looking at impulse stroke reckless buying. Do you really need the things that you have? Feel free to go to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and let us know on our Twitter at Morning at NTV, and you can send the text to 6565. I'm with Mr. Mugisa, who is a mentor on success, and we're trying to find out what we can do. For personal things, some people have recommended that you kind of change the things you want, the things that you like a lot. If you have a list of 12, you know, you start cutting down so that you don't spend a lot of money on these things. How is that model? Is it effective?
Of course, you change small but change often. The first thing is first, what is your revenue? What is your income? You see, once you have your income, then you say 20% has to be saved. You get the salary immediately, you put it aside. Now, people do forced saving. You can arrange with any bank, Stanbic Bank.
Forced saving?
Yes. Now, I have an account, for example, of course, around 3 banks. For certain reasons, because for business reasons. But one of the banks I organized with them, I said, every time at the end of the month, Papa, you see money on my account, remove 20% and put it on my savings account. And that one I will not touch it. Now,
it's like a debit mandate.
It is like I'm asking myself, if I'm like I don't have a loan, how can I save without a loan?
That's
so I'm assuming that I had a loan, my money would be going somewhere. So let it be going there when actually I'm not obligated.
Yes.
So that helps you. Now, if you have the other 8, you are saying yourself, you don't want to, at the end of the day, to struggle and suffer when actually you're making the money. Life is too small to not give yourself things which you need.
Yes.
So you have to live very well. This is why everybody needs to have somebody who advises them about money. You see, you can be good at making the money, but are you good at prioritizing how to spend it? So impulse buying, I want to say that it is not just saying stop impulse buying. If somebody has planned the money, he has 30% just for that. They should use it. They should use it because they have already planned their life. The problem is when you don't plan your life, your rent is outstanding, you have a car loan, a car is a liability. I hope you know that.
A car is not a liability now. Okay, please go on.
So now, because of that, your money has so many areas it is going. And then you want to begin buying things because you are seeing friends and neighbors are buying them. So this is why I tell people, if you don't have your own plan or a vision, you'll end up living in somebody else's vision. Because you are copying and then you end up going into a ditch. Because for them, their life is planned. They can spend the way they like because it is part of their budget.
Right. Well, we will stop, here for now, but thank you so much. I hope we can call on you. Next time I'll call you and you tell us about forensic examination.
Yes,
and
sure.
how do you do that even for companies?
Yes, we do that.
Some of the police work here.
And unfortunately for forensics is finding the smallest thing which was the cause of the problem so as to affix blame with evidence. So that anybody, because for us our work is to find facts, fact finding. So that anybody who looks at the facts you have found is able to say, okay, Brian, based on these things, that is in Uganda, those are courts of law. They're able to say, okay, I think you are the guy who is in the hot soup. So you see you are using mobile gadgets, you're using smartphones. Right. Now, every day you use these things, your email, somebody can commit a crime on you or against you. For example, in Facebook, so many people have committed crimes against others. Posting now, you see you are, Brian, people want to be like you, so they get your photo, it is available on the internet. Open an account on Facebook as if it is you. Yes. They commit crime or in your name. Now, that is something which is very bad. So if you came to us, we are able to investigate and give you, based on the best practices of determining digital forensic evidence for Facebook or social networks. Right. We're able to get evidence and prove who opened that account in your name.
Wow.
And then you can prosecute them. So that is something which is very good, and we have a lab in Kampala, Uganda, and I would appreciate you.
I'll call you and we talk about that. That would be interesting to talk about, especially when it comes to social media. Now, for the rest of you, you have posted lots of questions, and Mr. Mugisa will go onto our Facebook page and answer those questions. And of course, Ngabire Ahmad said these old men can just spend on our young chicks and even fail to know their families. They are fond of lying to their spouse, telling them how the salary is not yet out. Imagine that. And saying, Gulsan saying, don't move with money you don't need. Kabanza Isaac, how much is that HTC phone? Man, it's so cool. Tomorrow you can get an opportunity to win this HTC One phone. I'll be telling you, we'll be asking you simple questions and you can walk away with it. Remember, everyday life powered by HTC One. But you can win this beautiful gadget tomorrow, and you won't have to spend recklessly on that. Yes. So, Mr. Mugisa will be answering your questions and more. And standing by is Isma Dakabachigongo with the sports. Good morning, Isma.
Feeling very bad. Good morning.
Well, Isma, I think, is still nursing the loss of Liverpool. But we'll talk more sport when we return. Don't go away.
The average age of the international team is under 18. And
the primary role of Team Uganda is to remain to Division 2.
Probably that's the only thing that can make one or two rugby fans smile, that the Cubs are doing well.
The players haven't put on they haven't wore the game faces. They're not the animals we saw last season, because Ferguson had the same group of players and he did deliver the Holy Grail, which is the title.
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
Marriage is tough, but you suck it up and you stick through the good times and the bad times. What kind of example are you setting for your sister who is about to walk down the aisle herself?
Shut up, Nandi. Seriously, you just keep poking and poking at other people's relationships. You're like a cancer.
Ati, I hope you're discussing fashion. Because you have everything under control, yes? And the only crisis we're going to have is you clashing with the red carpet.
We've made mistakes. And that's what marriage is all about. Mistakes and forgiveness. For better or for worse.
I'm sorry, but I've got to ask.
Nothing happened between me and Lucia.
Well, Lulu is not here, and if she comes, I'll let her know you're here. You picked the wrong person to mess with, Lucy.
Yo!
Aro, give me 5 stress, 3 gonorrhea.
Kale muli wano, you think you've brought capacas omwana yena sobola nasobola ogamba super deep. Si myaka gyaffe.
I'm like, I like my swag too. So what about it? Then she was like, I also like your accent. That village accent. Now.
Kati mwagala mchimbi wana kuza kele chili chianu chili okay wale tinsanyu fu weneka political tayakana nomuzanga nakajawa.
Kati nekambuza mukabete why are you crying? Nikagamba abasajja engeri gye bafulumiza mu lukwago.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover. Put that in Kiprotich's accent.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
What are you going to do for the mine to become ours?
As the mayor of San Pedro del Oro, and given the amount of sulfur of El Chamuco's spring waters, I've decided to confiscate Suarez's land.
And I want you to look under every rock for Gabriela Suarez. I want her dead or alive. You got it?
Watch her house? Why is that? What happened?
Gabriela Suarez has escaped.
The boy isn't here. What do you mean he isn't here?
La Patrona.
It's 17 minutes on to 9 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are, in your office, at home. Some of us have card TVs, others are streaming online, youtube.com/NTVUganda. Thank you so much for joining us. Isma was very absent-minded a few minutes ago. What's up? Is it Mabel?
Good morning. My distraction couldn't have been Mabel. It will sound
Am I not a distraction? Am I not a distraction?
Okay, not a distraction enough.
Not
a distraction enough.
But how was your Valentine?
I've got to say good. Spent a lot of it with family, attending a function somewhere for one of my very close sisters, which was a very good thing. And yeah, I went through some very public disrespect. That wouldn't be good for this segment.
All right,
would be very good.
Sports. KCCA losing to Elmerick, but still advancing because of the goal advantage. How far can they go?
I think it's a bigger question today because now they know who they are going to play, because they are going to face Nkana Red Devils from Zambia, one of the strongest sides, I think, from the 80s and 90s in African football, but have since fallen on hard times, a bit like Goma here in Kenya, who waited for 16 years to win the league title until when they did last year. Right. But I wasn't very impressed with the way KCC played on Saturday. There was a lot of gaping holes in there, and I thought after they took the lead through Tony Odu's goal, they should have pressed the advantage. I don't think George Nsimbe's team pressed the advantage there to go on and get a second and probably play as well. And they had their chances, one from Tom Masiko, which he should have buried, beat his defender, but could only balloon the ball wide with the goalkeeper beaten. So there were glaring mistakes there in the way KCC set up. But now,
earlier saying that he was not going to change anything. Was he ready to win this game?
I think he didn't change anything in terms of the approach. You would see Herman Was Antonio do pushing the issue, and then for me the second thing is going to be how that first leg, because the first leg is going to be played in Zambia, and that is about 2 weeks from now. For a team that won their first leg in El Merreikh in Sudan by 2 goals, they should be feeling very confident.
Yes.
But probably I thought also on the day El Merreikh looked very poor. Really? It's not the El Merreikh side from 4 or 5 years ago. I wonder what has happened to them. They looked very poor. Their display was pathetic. They were nowhere close to the team that could go and challenge the best teams in Africa.
Right.
The one that could compete with Al Ahly, the one that could knock out some of the South African sides and get to the best 8 sides in Africa. It's fallen a bit on hard time. So probably KCC will know. Probably KCC made them look worse than we all thought. Probably KCC's best game was one in Sudan that many of us didn't watch. Good result for KCC, poor performance. going to be a bigger challenge playing in Ghana Red Devils in Zambia in the next round.
Well, let's wish them all the
best.
And still locally, we have Victoria University beating Don Bosco 1-0. And I just want to know, really, there was a bit of sorrow, a bit of, them being kicked out on their debut. How many regrets can they have? We talked a lot about Victoria University last week.
Yeah, we did, because of the incidents, especially the indiscipline incidents involving Dennis Guma and Savio Kabogo, who are recalled to the side. But I think their regrets should stem from the way they played in Congo. I've watched images of that game, video clips of that game in Congo, and I thought they were very poor from the start of the game. And probably it was a bit of nerves and lacking the experience of Guma and Savio Kabogo. That's the biggest regret they should have, that they probably shouldn't have lost by 3-0.
Yeah.
When you lose 3-0, even if you have another 90 minutes to fight back, it's going to be very, very hard for Victoria University to come back into the game. But I thought in yesterday's game, they were still very timid in the first half. Yet I said on this show on Friday that one of the only ways Victoria could get through or even compete is to have a flawless first half where they score 2 goals. Now in the first half they totally are non-existent. It's the second half when they started to play, went wide and cost a few balls, had Peter Tai come onto the pitch, had Brian Ocho come onto the pitch, and eventually got their goal through Matthew Dong, who, by the way, last year was only playing the Universal Football League for Kampala University and has made a big transition to be playing for Victoria University at this level in just 1 year. So they had one very good half. For me, throughout the 180 minutes, probably Victoria will know they only played 45 of the 108, and that should be a big regret for Molivier Kwaso. And for me, the other regret should be, the usurping of powers for Molivier Kwaso there, that the club management went and hired the Cranes coach, Micho Omilutin Sredejovic, to come and help him out before this return leg. I don't believe in short-term fixes, and that is exactly what Victoria University are trying to do. You don't go and hire another coach midway through a campaign with Molivier Kwaso seated there. Probably is a man who lacks character. That's the reason he stayed. Because if, for example, if I ask Mabel to become me and I become Mabel, it just doesn't add up. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
And coaches are supposed to have a lot of authority. Now, if they can bring in an extra coach per game and Molivier Kwaso stays there, for me, it's a lack of bond from him. It's a lack of bond from him.
And I guess it's later in the weeks to come, we'll probably dedicate a couple of minutes for you to talk about the powers of coaches in African football.
Yeah.
Who runs the game in African football? Because
sometimes it's witchcraft. I've seen documentaries in West Africa.
but the case of hiring the national coach to come and
help a club,
without the team coach having anything to say, I think
it's a topic to talk about that.
But talking about short fixes, I mean, we have seen 2 teams in the FA who lost and now won. Chelsea lost to Man City previously, but now this time they were beaten. And Liverpool, Brian, you should be happy.
Oh yes,
Liverpool were beaten by the great Arsenal. And now, are we going to see, do you think we can see a final of Man City and Arsenal?
I hear Mukono travel there to the theater.
Yeah, from 5-1 to 2-1. The draw could see us get that far because
you're part of us now.
Us see this game. I can't be part of us.
He can't tell us what he supports.
Yeah,
but I'll find out.
It's one of those.
He's very professional.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's one of those rules. But I think the draw has really kept these 2 teams apart because Man City will host Wigan and Arsenal will be hosting Everton in the next round, the quarterfinals. So there's still a long way to go. But for me, from the weekend, one of the things I saw is 2 things. One is one of the rules that we ignore in sport. It's the law of averages. You can hardly beat the same team more than once, especially in successive weekends. For me, that was a bit of a problem for both Liverpool and Chelsea.
Law?
Yeah, it's just an unwritten law in sport. That's one way I looked at it. Then 2, I thought Arsenal were brilliant, especially defensively. Liverpool came at them. Liverpool are one of the fastest teams in football. They'll run at any team because they are very brilliant on the counter-attack. Raheem Sterling, Luis Suarez and Daniel Sturridge, who for me is the reason why Liverpool lost this game. Daniel Sturridge had about 3 chances, I did bury them. But their defensive shape, if you look at the same Arsenal 7 days prior, the one that lost 5-1 at Anfield, and the Arsenal that came out yesterday, there was totally a different mindset in terms of what job everyone was doing, and probably the goalkeeper himself, Lucas Fabianski, was brilliant on the day. But for me, first of all, it's the law of averages. Liverpool were probably not going to beat Arsenal twice, and I actually thought that Liverpool's best chance was to go and pick a draw at the Emirates and then go and play the return leg,
beat Arsenal
at Anfield. That would have been more understandable.
This comes as a boost for, ahead of the Bayern Munich fixture, isn't it?
And it should be a big boost, and it will be one of our biggest topics on Wednesday.
Right.
Can Arsenal beat the strongest side in Europe?
I think it's always unfair. Arsenal always have the hardest team to play in Europe. It's unfair.
But they'll go in with a very positive mindset. They'll go in with a very positive mindset. Had they not won this one, bearing in mind the results they had got the previous weekend against Liverpool and then the draw to Manchester United, would have been catastrophic for Arsenal to host the strongest side in Europe in a situation where the confidence is gone.
Yes.
And this is one thing that Arsene Wenger should be looking at and thinking, okay, we've got this result and now we should go in with a lot of faith. And you look at it, the last thing I would say about this is that the rotation of his players, Santi Cazorla was on the bench, came off the bench, Jack Wilshere didn't play at all. Olivier Giroud came off the bench. Such things could be helpful to the squad in terms of freshness.
Well, Bayern Munich had better watch out. Let's move on to Spain. The top three, it's a possibility of all of them winning. But how long is it going to take to break them up and we just get one making the sprint for the title?
It should be like this for a very long time. Barcelona beating up on Rayo Vallecano by 6-0. Madrid winning at Getafe by 3-0, and Atletico winning by 3-0 against Valladolid. I thought this would have been one of those weekends where all three were expected to win, bearing in mind the kind of opposition they had. But for me, while they've not been broken up, they are now all on 60 points. Is that I thought even in the blip when Atletico Madrid have not played well, they lost 2 games to Real in the Kings Cup and then went and lost that game to Almeria. At that point, if they don't lose their ground in terms of the title race, then I think Atletico will be competing right at the end. For me, they don't have the squad, but they have the faith, they have the manager. Diego Simeone has done fantastic things. You look at his passion on the touchline and you translate into what the players are doing on the pitch. Now look at Barcelona. We all know about Messi and his records, and actually this weekend he moved ahead in the all-time list of Spanish scorers. And even in the league, he's right up there at the top and is almost catching up with who the top scorer in the history of the Spanish La Liga he is. So at that point, I'm thinking they are going to be this close for a very long time. If there is anyone who is going to blink first, it's going to be either Atletico or Barcelona. Just because I'm backing my prediction, I went for Real Madrid to win the league title. So I'm really hoping that one of the other two drops off. I would get a lot of vindication. People who watch us on these shows love to always get into a kind of argument where someone will say, Ismail said Real Madrid and Barcelona won it. So I'm always backing myself that let me get this right and something like that. But I've got to think it's going to be very close, probably until the final 5 games and until Real Madrid play Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. That's when it will be decided.
Juventus leading in Italy. But between Napoli and Roma, who should get second place?
I think Napoli should. Napoli should get second place. They won a very tough game yesterday at Sao Solo by 2-0. The form of Gonzalo Higuain and then Jose Maria Callejon has been very good. But on the other hand, Roma winning their games are taking care of their business. They are not the same Roma that won the first 10 games of the season in terms of in terms of how they've been playing. But they are still posting results, and they are very positive results for them. That when you look at them, they are right there at the top. But in terms of the squad depth, I don't think Rudy Garcia's Roma have the depth to go and compete with Napoli for second. And that is for me thinking that Juventus will be champions, because we are only debating second place at this point. Juventus win their games a lot more comfortably than the other two.
Okay, very quickly. Bayern Munich and Dortmund, they both won. Do you think Bayern can go all the way without losing?
Again? Yeah, it's now 23 games from the start.
Like the Arsenal team of I don't know how many years
2004.
Yeah.
And Bayern have not lost in the league in 43 games.
They're almost reaching Arsenal's record of 49.
Yeah, they are not too far away from that.
Yeah.
And you look at the way they've been playing. It's a tough one, because sometimes, however good you are, you may not finish the season unbeaten because something is bound to go wrong. Now I look at this Bayern and I'm thinking they may not lose a game in 60 because they are playing that well in the Bundesliga, and probably the competition has not offered much. If they are beating up on Borussia Dortmund, they are beating up on teams like Freiburg by 5-0, Hamburg, Werder Bremen, Nuremberg. When I look at that, I'm thinking, okay, Bayern can go the entire season unbeaten. For me, their challenge is going to be in Europe. If they are supposed to take care of teams like Arsenal, they are supposed to take care of some of the bigger teams in Europe, and that is the point where Bayern should be looking. I'm really rooting for them, by the way, to go through the regular this entire season unbeaten, especially if they can beat Dortmund again. If they do the dub over Dortmund, then it will be very possible. They have some tough nuts to crack here and there. Bayer Leverkusen, who they drew with, or Nuremberg, who have a very good record against them. But this Bayern gives you the sense of belief because of the depth of their squad. I was watching them at the weekend without Robben, without Mario Götze, without Mario Mandzukic, without David Alaba, without Jerome Boateng. And they still won the game comfortably. Thiago Alcantara couldn't even dress up to make the 18. Okay, Robben came off the bench and Mario Götze. So you look at the depth of their squad. And I'm thinking that they could still go this entire season unbeaten. If only they don't get that thing about the luck. Because sometimes you can only be unlucky. So you can be so good, but even if you're very good, you need luck.
Well, you can catch more of this on Omumuli with Isma and Lomanse at 1:30 p.m. and Sports Bar later today at 10:30 p.m. live from Club Silk. Isma will be breaking it down with with so many of the guys on Sports Bar. Now, of course, a couple of comments here quickly. Arsenal can win the English Premier League. That is Augustine Fabiano. Gabanza Isaac saying, I hate Wenger because how can you sideline Podolski and give Giroud the game? If we had not won, what would you have said? Bambi at Mabel feeling bad why Arsenal always plays the big teams. Well, you can catch more of that on the other sports shows. Coming up, your African proverb. Good morning to you. We have about 2 minutes on to 9 o'clock and today's African proverb. Money can't talk, yet it can make lies look true.
Sure, it does.
That's true. Yeah, and I think of court cases, especially in Uganda where people's files go missing. I think their money does talk.
And maybe being a girl, I'm thinking when I heard the part of lies look true, I'm thinking you've been lied too. So have I.
Why?
So have I, but
you said
as a girl, because there is money and lies. And that for me relates to a lot of the feminine gender because women know how to use our money to get around things.
So
when a woman is involved, I'll buy you an iPad.
And I think, Mom, he likes me.
If you don't like this blue phone, I'll buy you a pink one. And that's a start.
Well, you can interpret it whatever way you can. There's an interesting story of a guy on Tuwaye that was in prison for 27 years. I think for me today, it's going to be my running story today. What an inspiration. We know Mandela, but there's a Ugandan who has done it too.
And he was innocent.
Probably the only way you can complete the Mandela story is if he was president for 5 years after the 27.
That would be impossible in Uganda, but Kasiate will comment on that. But yeah, like our Facebook page morning at NTV and Ivan Mosh saying, thanks guys, I love you. Sunday Patrick saying, Brayo, I need that HTC One, bro. I'll tell you how to do that tomorrow. I'm wishing I would be the next owner of that phone. I'm so desperate, but now you'll win this. You'll win this thing, this phone. Isma, how can this? Okay, I don't understand some of the things that. What are the details on how to win the HTC One? I'll be giving you those details tomorrow. Have a phenomenal day from Mabel, Dakaba, and Kasiata and Joel Senyunya and the whole crew here. Want to say have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.
NTV, turning on your world.
It's easy to believe that God is ordering your steps when they take you down a smooth, easy path. But what about when your steps take you to rough places?
Kimberly Ray was just 3 years old the first time she was raped.